Chapter 220. When the two leaders of the Cho family saw that Cho Ruoshui had returned with serious injuries, they were naturally furious. However, after listening to Cho Ruobai's story, they couldn't say a word. What could they say? How could this girl be so bold? She actually dared to bring Lei Junzi to bomb the Feng family. What did she want to do? This stinky girl simply didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. If it wasn't for the friendship between the two families for many years, the Feng family would have killed her in the city. Although they were furious, they called a doctor to treat her injuries. It seemed that the Feng family would come soon. It seemed that this matter couldn't be settled without some bloodshed. No one told Fengwu how Cho Ruoshui's matter was resolved. Fengwu also didn't ask. She ate and slept every day and didn't think about the existence of Cho Ruoshui at all. Fengwu didn't gain nothing from fighting with Cho Ruoshui. When Lei Junzi approached her, she had a creepy feeling as if she was only one step away from death. That feeling of life and death gave her a lot of new insights. Fengwu went into seclusion at home for 3 days to sort out her gains. When she came out of seclusion 3 days later, the Cho family had already sent the things that the two families agreed on. The Feng family didn't keep any of these things and gave them all to Fengwu. After returning home, Fengwu had completely turned into a rich woman. She had quite a lot of good things in her space ring. Some of them were gifts from Madame Lan and Feng Juntian, while the rest were gifts from the Cho family to the Feng family as compensation. Without Cho Ruoshui looking for trouble, Fengwu's life could be said to be very peaceful. Unfortunately, this kind of life didn't last long. Feng Tianqing, who was expected to return home 2 or 3 days after Fengwu returned, finally rushed back. Feng Tianqing, Feng Wulyo's second daughter, was strong and independent since childhood. When she grew up, she didn't find a man with a good family background to marry like an ordinary noble lady. Instead, she took the initiative to go to the Blood Moon Forest to guard the entrance to the human world. 20 years had passed. When Feng Tianqing left, Feng Juntian had just been born. In the blink of an eye, 20 years had passed. Feng Tianqing's return was a joyous occasion for the Feng clan. This time, Feng Tianqing returned with a girl, a very beautiful girl. No, beautiful wasn't enough to describe her. If people asked who the most beautiful woman in the ancient eastern country was before they met Feng Yanran, they would only answer that it was the 3 beauties of the ancient eastern country, Princess Ronghua, the first daughter of the Lan family, Lan Zhou, and the first daughter of the Cho family, Cho Ruobing. However, after seeing Feng Yanran, everyone would say that the most beautiful woman in the ancient eastern country must be the Feng family's cousin, Feng Yanran. Feng Yanran's beauty had surpassed all the beauties in the world. Any woman who stood in front of her would be overshadowed. Even Feng Wulyo and Feng Tianqing were stunned when they saw Feng Yanran for the first time. They didn't expect that the soft little girl would grow up to be such a stunning woman. Even Feng Juntian, who usually didn't care about women, was surprised when he saw Feng Yanran. Although he wouldn't have any thoughts about his sister, he still admired Feng Yanran's beauty. Feng Juntian had thought that Prince Mingxi, whom he had met the other day, was already a handsome man that was hard to find in this world. Even the most beautiful woman would not be able to surpass his beauty. Who would have thought that today, he would meet a girl who did not lose to Prince Mingxi? Moreover, this girl was his cousin. Quickly sit, Tianqing. It's been hard on you. These 20 years have been hard on you. Feng Wulyo saw his youngest daughter and was so excited that his eyes were a little sore. This daughter was the one he owed the most. In order to protect the peace of the ancient eastern country, she sacrificed too much. Father, Tianqing missed you so much. Feng Tianqing was moved and threw herself into Feng Wulyo's arms. In the eyes of the family, Feng Wulyo had always been a strict elder. Since young, among the younger generation, only Feng Tianqing wasn't afraid of her father. She would even go against him from time to time. The relationship between father and daughter had always been very good. Good. It's good that you're back. Feng Wulyo secretly wiped his tears. He didn't want to show his weak side in front of his children. Grandfather, Yanran also missed grandfather very much. Feng Yanran's voice was as pleasant as heavenly music. It made people who heard it want to indulge in it and not want to wake up. Yenran, you've also grown up. Do you still remember the first time grandfather saw you? You were only 5 years old. I didn't expect that in the blink of an eye, Yenran had also grown up. Feng Wuliu lovingly patted Feng Yenran's head. Probably because he owed Feng Tianqing, Feng Wuliu had always doted on Feng Wu very much. When they were young, Feng Wu was even jealous because of this and snatched Feng Yenran's toys and snacks. Of course, the result of doing this in the end was that she was scolded by her father and brother and grounded by her grandfather. Feng Wu didn't know about these past events. She just stood beside Feng Juntian in a daze, watching this heartwarming scene with her own eyes. She didn't feel anything. Feng Ting wasn't like Feng Wu. At this moment, Feng Ting's heart was filled with jealousy. She was just a bastard child without a father, but she actually had the surname Feng and was doted on so much. Why did grandfather and father rather dote on a bastard child with an unknown father than to put more thought on her? Feng Ting's heart was extremely uncomfortable, but she didn't show it on her face. She stood there obediently like a well-behaved junior with a smile. Let's go. Your sister-in-law has already asked the kitchen to prepare the dishes that you and Yenran like to eat. Remember to eat more later. You haven't eaten the food at home for many years, right? The cooks at home haven't changed. It's still the same cooks that you used at home. Feng Tianqing looked at his younger sister and became more talkative. This younger sister was his most beloved younger sister. She had suffered a lot in her life. As her elder brother, every time he thought about it, he couldn't help but want to treat her better. Brother, you and sister-in-law haven't changed at all. You're still so young, just like the last time we met. It's just that our children have already grown up. It's only been 10 years since we last met, but Juntian and Xiao Wu have already grown up. Ting Ting is also more beautiful than when she was young. Feng Tianqing sighed. 10 years ago, it was the year she sent the 5-year-old Feng Yenran back to the Feng family. Too many things had happened in that year and it was the saddest and most painful year for her. She was powerless to protect her children and could only leave her daughter at home to seek her father's protection. It wasn't until 2 years later when she was sure that the Blood Moon Forest had regained its peace that she sent people to bring her daughter back. Chapter 221. Auntie. Feng Juntian said. Auntie. Feng Wu called out expressionlessly. Auntie, you're still so young. Feng Ting still remembers the first time I saw Auntie. Auntie was also so beautiful. Even after 10 years, Feng Ting still remembers Auntie's appearance. Auntie is exactly the same as in Feng Ting's memory. Feng Ting knew that this auntie had an extremely high position in the family and couldn't wait to increase her favorability. Feng Tianqing smiled and nodded. The three of you have really grown up. Ting Ting is also becoming more and more beautiful. I wonder which family's man will have the fortune to marry you in the future. Feng Tianqing didn't treat Feng Ting differently just because she was a concubine's daughter. He still smiled gently. The few of them chatted as they slowly entered the house and sat down in order. Let's eat. Tianqing and Yenran must be starving. Let's eat. Feng Wuliu didn't say much and let everyone eat. Feng Wu picked up her chopsticks and picked up a piece of her favorite dish and ate it in one bite. Feng Juntian and Feng Ting also silently ate the dishes in front of them. Feng Yenran ate beside Feng Wu. She also ate elegantly and watching her eat was a kind of enjoyment. It was a pity that our Feng Wu girl didn't pay any attention to Feng Wu. She was currently busy eating. No one could even think of attracting her attention while eating. The 4 juniors were very well behaved and didn't speak while eating. However, the 4 seniors would occasionally talk about some topics. Tianqing, there was a huge disturbance in the Blood Moon Forest recently. Did something happen? The matter this time was very big. There was a barrier outside the Blood Moon Forest. It was because of this barrier that the Blood Clan couldn't casually enter human territory to drink human blood. However, a month ago, the barrier suddenly became unstable. This made the king very worried and he even invited the Silver Moon Ancient Kingdom's prince who inherited the divine blood to help stabilize the barrier. Something did happen. the 4 elders and my teacher all mysteriously disappeared. The barrier was destroyed by the Blood Clan from the inside. If it wasn't for His Highness inviting Prince Ming Shi in time, I'm afraid the Blood Clan would have already rushed out of the barrier. Feng Tianqing said with emotion. Destroying the barrier from the inside. How did the Blood Clan know where the barrier's weakness is? Feng Tianqing was shocked. Every barrier wasn't perfect. There would always be a person's weakness. But that weakness wasn't easy to find. It was just a small dot as small as the eye of a needle. And other than the person who laid the barrier, no one else would be able to find it. It's not that I don't know either. The elders are suspecting that someone leaked the weakness of the barrier. Just as they were locking on to my senior brother, Florence, he suddenly disappeared. Even the 4 elders and my master are nowhere to be found. I immediately contacted His Highness. His Highness has already sent out many people to help search for them, but they still can't find any trace of them. Luan Sa. It's actually him. You really can't judge a book by its cover. I've seen that kid once before. He looks like a pretty boy who likes to attract bees and butterflies. I didn't expect him to betray his own country and work for the Blood Clan. Feng Tianqing couldn't say anything malicious due to his personality. However, everyone could hear the displeasure in his voice. It's not necessarily senior brother. This happened too suddenly. If I hadn't brought Yen Ran to find some weak Blood Clan members to practice combat, I'm afraid even I would have been killed. Those people who could take everyone away so easily were definitely not ordinary people. I suspect that the one who did it was a Blood Clan prince. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to take away the 4 elders and master so easily. Senior brother Luan Sa's private life is a bit messy, and he's very suspicious. However, with his ability, he shouldn't have been able to come into contact with a Blood Clan prince. He couldn't have come into contact with them himself, but he could have done it through other Blood Clan members. However, I can't figure out what benefits he would gain by doing so. Feng Tianqing couldn't understand. Actually, before the incident happened, there were already some rumors that someone saw senior brother Luan Sa having a tryst with a Blood Clan young girl. Bang! Feng Wuliu suddenly slammed the table and stood up. For a Blood Clan woman, he dared to betray our ancient eastern country. He's simply an animal. Feng Wuliu hadn't been so angry for a long time. The thing he hated the most in his life was people who would betray their family and country for a little love. When Feng Wuliu was young, he had a good brother. That brother was also a very outstanding talent in the ancient eastern country. Later on, during an experience, he got to know a princess from a neighboring country. Later on, for that princess, he stole an important military secret from the ancient eastern country and eloped with the princess to the neighboring country. After Feng Wuliu found out, he chased after them for 7 days and 7 nights. Then, he personally killed that princess and his good brother with his sword. He didn't hold back at all. Because of various things in the past, what Feng Wuliu hated the most was people who disregarded the interests of the country and the people for their own personal feelings. These are only rumors and haven't been confirmed. I still can't completely believe that this matter was done by senior brother Luan Sa. Feng Tianqing shook his head, seemingly refusing to believe it. All right, let's not talk about these unhappy things. Let's eat, let's eat. Feng Wuliu sat down again and raised his chopsticks. But when he lowered his head to pick up the food, he was stunned. He saw that all the bowls and plates on the table had been cleared. Other than some ginger, garlic, and pepper for seasoning, all the edible dishes had been finished. There wasn't even a mouthful of soup left. Everyone, Madame Lan felt a little guilty. She secretly glanced at Feng Wu, who was calmly wiping her mouth. Ugh, how could she forget that her daughter was a super glutton? She seemed to have asked the kitchen to make fewer dishes. What should she do now? Speaking of which, Feng Wu had been back for more than 10 days. During this period of time, she had been eating with Madame Lan. Feng Juntian was a sword fanatic and practiced his sword in the martial arts field all day long. And as the clan leader, Feng Tianqing had many things to do. He had many social affairs to attend to, so it was impossible for him to eat at home every day. As for old Master Feng Wuliu, he was in seclusion all day long to comprehend the sage realm, hoping to improve further. Moreover, after his cultivation reached the sword grandmaster level, he would be fine even if he didn't eat for a few months. Moreover, old Master Feng was a sword saint. Sword saints had already stopped eating grains and didn't need to eat anything at all. This time, he came out to eat for his daughter. Thinking that he hadn't seen his daughter for many years, he came out to eat with everyone. However, old Master Feng Wuliu didn't expect that the table would be cleared before he even ate a mouthful of food. Old Master Feng was furious. Which chef made this? Couldn't he make more? This little bit of food wasn't even enough to fill the gaps between people's teeth. Chapter 222. Feng Juntian, Feng Ting, and Feng Yanran subconsciously peeked at Feng Wu. They wanted to see where she had put all the food she had eaten and why her stomach wasn't showing at all. Feng Wuliu naturally noticed the gazes of the three children. He widened his old eyes and glared at the Feng Wu girl. "Girl, are you that hungry? I haven't even eaten anything and you've already eaten so much. Do you think you're a pearling?" Old Master Feng glared at her. Feng Wu looked back calmly without any emotion. He glared again, but Feng Wu still looked back calmly. After the grandfather and grandson pair looked at each other for a minute, Feng Wuliu couldn't stand it anymore. "Alright, since everyone is full, let Qianqing and Yanran go rest. Xiao Dai, let the kitchen cook more dishes tonight. Don't be so frugal. Madame Lan, yes, daughter-in-law understands." That was close. Madame Lan was so scared that she wanted to pat her chest. She thought that her father was going to punish Xiao Wu again. Fortunately, it was just a false alarm. After lunch, Feng Qianqing and Feng Yanran moved into Qianqing Tower where Feng Yanran used to live. Originally, Madame Lan had arranged a small building with good scenery for Feng Yanran, but Feng Yanran insisted on living with her mother. Madame Lan didn't force her and let her do as she wished. After Feng Yanran and her mother went to rest, Feng Qianqing and his wife talked in the room. When the tailor enters the residence, make some new clothes for Yanran and a few sets of better jewelry. Find someone to make them into enchanted equipment. It's more practical. Got it, I'll do it well. Since you want to make clothes, why don't you make some for the children? Xiao Wu will be going back to school soon. She also needs to prepare a few more sets of clothes. Alright, you can arrange these. Remember to inform Dao Qianjiao about Qianqing and Yanran's return. Ask her to bring the children back to the family. After all, they are sisters. Qianqing is back. As the elder sister, she should have a reunion with her younger sister. Feng Qianqing couldn't help but frown when he thought of Feng Tianjiao. Although they were both his younger sisters, one was unruly and willful while the other was brave and strong. They had guarded the Blood Moon Forest for 20 years for the country. In the afternoon, Feng Wuliu's eldest daughter, Feng Tianjiao, came back with her children. When Feng Tianjiao arrived, Madame Lan was letting the tailor take Feng Yanran's measurements. "Yanran, you're so beautiful. You're so beautiful. Compared to the three most beauties of our ancient eastern country." Feng Tianjiao recognized Feng Yanran as soon as she saw her. Not long ago, her elder brother sent someone to inform Qianqing and his daughter that they had returned. Now, she saw a girl standing with Madame Lan. Who else could it be but Feng Yanran? To Feng Tianjiao. Feng Tianjiao, Feng Tianjiao. These are your cousins. You've met them before when you were young. I don't know if you still remember. Feng Tianjiao was still a bit flirtatious in front of the younger generation. At the very least, she didn't go crazy as soon as she saw them. Of course, brother Yi Yan, brother Yi Tian, sister Yi Lin, and sister Meng and Fei we used to play together when we were young. We haven't seen each other for many years, but all of you still look the same as when we were young. Feng Yanran looked at Yi Lin shyly. You didn't change much. Yi Lin looked at Feng Yanran's face and said unknowingly, "Damn it. Who was she trying to seduce with such a beautiful face? She was really a little demon." Yi Lin couldn't help but spit in her heart. Yi Meng and Yi Fei looked at their cousin with envy. Their cousin was too beautiful. How could there be such a beautiful person in the world? Yi Yen and Yi Tian looked at Feng Yanran's face. They didn't know how to describe their cousin's beauty. The two brothers called Feng Yanran cousin and stood quietly at the side. They didn't say anything, but their eyes peeked at Feng Yanran from time to time. Here, this is for you. Take it and play with it. Feng Tianjiao took a hairpin from her head. This hairpin looked like something good. It was made of more than 10 coral beads. It was also enchanted. It was very valuable. Thank you, Aunt. Feng Yanran took it with a red face. Sister-in-law, this is where you're wrong. Since you're going to make clothes for Yanran, how can you only make clothes for Yanran and not for our children? My children are also your nephews. You can't favor one and discriminate against the others. Feng Tianjiao turned to Madame Lan and said with a bit of complaint. How can I leave them behind? I'll do it for all of you. Come here and let the tailor measure you. Pick the color of cloth you like. These cloth are all for you. Madame Lan's smile didn't change. She didn't care about this little bit of trouble. It's just a few clothes. If you want to make them, then make them. It won't cost much anyway. The children stayed in the hall to choose the cloth and get measured. Madame Lan took Feng Tianjiao to see Feng Tianqing. Only Feng Wu and the Feng family children were left in the hall. There were also a few cousins from the Yi family and of course, Feng Yanran. Yi Lin said you're back. I didn't believe it. After what you did, I really don't understand why grandfather let you come back. Yi Tian saw that the adults had left and couldn't help but find trouble with Feng Wu. Since he was young, he had always disliked Feng Wu the most. She was incapable and unreasonable. She always bullied cousin Feng Ting and her two younger sisters. She was really an annoying woman. It would be better if she never returned to the Feng family in her life. Yi Tian, this has nothing to do with you. Feng Juntian stood out and looked at Yi Tian deeply. His eyes were full of warning. What's going on? Brother Yi Tian, what are you talking about? Feng Yanran blinked in confusion. A beauty was a beauty. Just one action was enough to make people's eyes light up. Every action was a pleasure. Yi Tian didn't dare to continue after being glared at by Feng Juntian. Now that he heard Feng Yanran's voice, he immediately threw Feng Juntian's warning to the back of his mind. He only wanted to please this beautiful cousin of his. Little sister Yanran, let me tell you. This Feng Wu is not a good woman. She got pregnant with a child with some wild man a year ago and was chased out of the Feng family by grandfather. She was only recently brought back. I heard that the bastard was also brought back. Just as Yi Tian was talking enthusiastically, 2 slaps landed on his face. Just hearing the 2 slaps was enough to make one feel pain. You dare to hit me? Yi Tian widened his eyes in disbelief. Was this really Feng Wu? She actually dared to hit him. Who gave her the guts? Those who scold the baby are all bad people. Feng Wu glared at him and said in a muffled voice. So what if I scolded him? He's a bastard. You can do it, but you don't let people talk about it. Chapter 223. Bam! Yi Tian was sent flying by a slap. He flew out of the hall and landed outside the stairs. He even spat out a mouthful of blood. Ah! Feng Yanran covered her mouth and screamed in panic. Ah! Yi Meng and Yi Fei screamed. Feng Wu, how dare you? Yi Yen looked at Feng Wu coldly as if he was looking at a dead person. How dare you attack my brother? I will let you know what regret is. Yi Yen pulled out his sword and was about to attack Feng Wu. Unfortunately, just as he pulled out his sword, Feng Juntian pressed it back. Yi Tian deserved this. If you want to fight, you can fight with my cousin. Feng Juntian shielded Feng Wu behind him, not letting her face Yi Yen directly. Yi Yen was different from Yi Tian, who was impulsive and easily angered. Yi Yan's mind was deep and vicious. He rarely got angry and would not visit the Feng family all the time like Yi Lin. He did not interact much with the Feng family, but he was the most important person in the Yi family. According to Grandpa Feng, the future of the Yi family still depended on Yi Yan. Brother Juntian, you want to protect her? Yi Yan raised his eyebrows. He did not expect Feng Juntian to suddenly protect his sister, Feng Wu. Everyone knew that Feng Juntian and Feng Wu did not have a good relationship. But now, Feng Juntian, who did not care much about Feng Wu, suddenly put her in his heart. He could not help but feel suspicious. Did something happen recently? Xiao Wu is my sister. Of course I should protect her. Feng Juntian said indifferently. I understand. Yi Yan nodded and stopped staring at Feng Wu. It seemed like he had given up on revenge for his brother. However, Feng Juntian knew that Yi Yan was a very protective person. The reason why he did not make a move now was because he did not have the confidence to win. That was why he was holding back. He was afraid that if Yi Yan got the chance in the future, he would not show mercy to Xiao Wu. Feng Juntian sighed deeply in his heart. The number of people who were hostile towards his little sister had increased by one. That person from the Chou family had already been thoroughly offended and he didn't know what unpredictable things would happen in the future. Now that the Yi brothers were involved, Xiao Wu's ability to attract hatred was getting stronger and stronger. As her brother, he had to work hard to improve himself or he would not be able to protect her. Second brother, are you alright? While Yi Yan and Feng Juntian were locked in a stalemate, the Yi sisters had already helped Yi Tian up. Yi Tian glared at Feng Wu furiously, his eyes practically spitting fire. I'm fine, I won't die. Yi Tian pushed away his sister's hands and stubbornly used his sword to support himself. He did not want to appear weak in front of so many people. Brother Yi Tian, are you really alright? I have some good healing medicine here. Take one first. Feng Ting took out a medicine bottle from her space bracelet and poured out a black pill for Yi Tian. Seeing the worry in Feng Ting's eyes, Yi Tian blushed. He thanked her and took the pill. Brother Yi Tian, are you feeling better? If you don't have enough medicine, I still have medicine here. When Mother and I were in the Blood Moon Forest, we often encountered all kinds of dangers. We have many different kinds of medicine on us. Feng Yanran's gentle eyes were filled with worry. Sister Yanran, I'm fine. Sorry for making you worry. Yi Tian blushed even harder. Feng Ting was unhappy in her heart. Men were really creatures that liked beauty. Before Feng Yanran appeared, they were like lapdogs that circled around her all day long. Now that Feng Yanran appeared, they immediately forgot about her. They were really men. That's good. Feng Yanran whispered shyly. Feng Yanran's little face was slightly flushed. Her entire face looked so beautiful that it was soul-stirring. People could not bear to look away. Yi Tian was simply mesmerized. She was too beautiful. How could there be such a beautiful girl in this world? In the past, he had always thought that Yi Ting was a rare beauty in this world. But when he saw Yanran, Yi Ting was immediately compared to the background. Because he only cared about Yi Ting, Yi Tian even forgot about such an important matter like taking revenge on Feng Wu. This made everyone a lot quieter. During dinner this time, Madame Lan had learned her lesson. She let the kitchen make several times more food. In short, there must not be a situation like lunch where all the dishes were not enough. The meal was peaceful. At least there was no unpleasantness. Yi Tian was probably mesmerized by Feng Yanran. During the meal, he kept circling around Feng Yanran. From time to time, he would help Feng Yanran pick up food. This made Feng Tianjiao frown. However, Feng Tianjiao did not immediately scold her son. She knew her father's temper. If anyone dared to make trouble at this time, the old man would not be polite. So Feng Tianjiao held it in until she returned to the Yi family. Then she pulled the children into her room and gave them an order. All of you listen. In the future, stay away from Feng Yanran. Especially you, Yi Tian. Don't think that I, as your mother, can't see that you have feelings for Feng Yanran. Your mother will say it here today. If you dare to marry Feng Yanran, you are not my son. Feng Tianjiao's words were not light. No matter how unreliable Feng Tianjiao was, she loved her children very much. This was the first time Feng Tianjiao had said such harsh words to her children. Lin and her sisters almost cried out in surprise. Was this still their protective mother? For Feng Tianjiao to actually say such words, it was simply inconceivable. Yen did not feel anything. Although he had some doubts, he did not say anything. Feng Yanran was beautiful, but it was not enough for him to marry no one but her. Only Tian was not very happy. Who asked her to be called out? Mother. What's wrong with Sister Yanran? Why do you hate her so much? Tian thought of Feng Yanran's beauty and was very reluctant. Do you really want to know? Feng Tianjiao's face suddenly changed. She looked at the children in front of her very seriously. Of course, her eyes were still focused on Tian. Yes. Tian nodded without hesitation. Do you want to know too? Feng Tianjiao asked the other children. The children exchanged an inexplicable look. They still hesitated for a moment before nodding. Well, if I don't tell you the truth, I am afraid that you will all go and befriend Feng Yanran. Feng Tianjiao said helplessly. She took a deep breath, and the expression on her face became very serious. Remember, no matter what you hear inside this door, you must forget it and never spread it outside because this matter is the Feng family's biggest secret. A secret that even your grandfather doesn't know about. The siblings were completely shocked. What did she mean? A secret that even their grandfather did not know. Chapter 224. No one knew what Feng Tianjiao said to the children. After the children left Feng Tianjiao's room, their expressions were strange. Some were confused, and some were in disbelief. However, no one said a word. Perhaps they knew that no one would believe them even if they did. Of course, what happened in the family did not spread to the Feng family. Ever since Feng Tianqing returned with his daughter, the entire Feng family was in a joyous mood. The old master was in a good mood, so naturally, everyone was in a good mood. In order to let everyone know about the return of Feng Tianqing and his daughter, Old Master Feng asked Madame Lan to arrange a banquet and invite all the noble families. Ever since Madame Lan accepted this task, she naturally made the best use of her time to handle it. The Feng family rarely held banquets because the Feng family members were not people who liked to be lively. However, Feng Tianqing's return this time made the old master's mood very good. He decided that the banquet must be held. The old man wanted everyone to see his most outstanding daughter and this peerlessly beautiful granddaughter. What three great beauties of the ancient Eastern country! When these people saw Yanran, they would know that the most beautiful girl of the ancient Eastern country was from the Feng family. Senior Ming Shi? Feng Wu walked out the door openly while everyone was busy preparing for the banquet. Then, she found Ming Shi at the agreed place. Ming Shi was in disguise. He wore a veil hat and a silver-white swordsman's robe. He looked like a young noble swordsman. No one would think that he was the prince of the Silver Moon Ancient Kingdom, Ming Shi. Xiao Wu, come here. Ming Shi pulled Feng Wu into an ordinary house. After entering the courtyard, he pulled down his veil hat. Xiao Wu, I want to borrow something from you. Ming Shi did not have his usual gentle smile. His expression was very serious, so serious that it was somewhat serious. Feng Wu was not used to this. What is it? Feng Wu asked. Your sword. Ming Shi took a deep breath and said. He wasn't sure if Feng Wu would be willing to lend him such an important divine weapon. The last time he was in the small town, he saw the purification ability of Feng Wu's divine sword. This kind of purifying power was something he urgently needed right now, because the place he was going to next was dangerous for 10 people, so he had no choice but to come and find Feng Wu. He only planned to borrow the sword and then deal with that matter himself. He did not plan to bring Feng Wu along. When Feng Wu heard that Ming Shi wanted to borrow her sword, she took out the small sword she usually used from her spatial ring and handed it over. Here you go, Feng Wu said generously. Ming Shi shook his head. Not this one. It's the one you use to purify the resentment in the small town. Xiaochun? Feng Wu said, blinking in confusion. Feng Wu summoned Xiaochun and placed it on the table. Xiaochun, you have to be obedient and listen to Senior Ming Shi's words. Feng Wu was afraid that Xiaochun would not be obedient, so she warned the pure sword. What Feng Wu didn't know was that Xiaochun wasn't an ordinary sword. It was the purest sword in the world. Only a pure-hearted person would be able to pick it up. If a person didn't have a pure heart, they would be injured by the sword qi as soon as they tried to pick it up, let alone pick it up. Fortunately, Ming Shi was also the owner of the divine sword. He was not the kind of person who harbored evil intentions. When he picked up the pure sword, he was not injured by the sword qi of the pure sword. Thank you, Xiao Wu. You've helped me a lot. I will return Xiaochun to you as soon as possible. Ming Shi solemnly promised, looking at the girl with a gentle gaze. And Feng Wu nodded, then touched Xiaochun's body, telling it to be obedient and not be naughty. Ming Shi looked at Feng Wu's serious look and smiled. He carefully looked at the long sword in his hand. This sword had an ancient aura. He had never seen the carvings on the sword before. Moreover, he had never found any records of this sword in any book. It was reasonable to say that such a divine sword should not be unknown. After borrowing the pure sword from Feng Wu, the two did not talk much and left separately. When Feng Wu returned to her room, no one even noticed that she had disappeared for a short period of time. Dada. Mummy, hug me. Little Bun Feng Yi was originally very seriously climbing up the bed, quilt. His little face was so tired that he was sweating. Xiao Bai stood guard at the side, occasionally helping to wipe away the sweat. She looked very much like a good wife and mother. When Feng Wu returned, Little Bun noticed. He stopped climbing up the quilt and reached out his little arms to ask for a hug. Little Bun's appetite had been getting better and better recently. Master Feng had specially ordered people to find extremely high-grade spiritual milk for the small family. Not only was this spiritual milk delicious, it was also very good for the body. There was also a large pile of small clothes and small shoes, which Madame Lan frequently sent over. So, under the doting of so many people, Little Bun lived up to expectations and gained weight. He was so fat that he looked like a little round ball. Feng Wu effortlessly picked up Chubby and Little Bun. Little Bun happily smeared saliva on his mother's face. Feng Wu did not mind. She calmly wiped it with her sleeve and carried Little Bun to the garden for a walk. This was an activity that Little Bun had to do every day. Little Bun had recently become infatuated with the Feng family's garden. He would be taken for a walk there at least 3 times a day. Probably because he ate too much high-grade food, this little guy was not even a year old, but he could already walk a few steps shakily. Ever since he learned to walk, this little guy rarely climbed. Only when he was playing on the bed did he like to climb up his little mother's quilt. Xiao Wu, is this your child? He's so cute. Can I hold him? Feng Yanran happened to be taking a walk in the garden. When she saw Feng Wu and Little Bun in her arms, her eyes immediately lit up. Feng Wu nodded and agreed to let her hold Little Bun. Feng Yanran happily reached out her little hand. As soon as she touched Little Bun began to cry unrestrainedly. He cried until he was out of breath. Anyone who heard it would be sad and shed tears. Little White reacted quickly and took Little Bun from Feng Wu's arms. He shook and coaxed him gently. His actions were simply too professional. Feng Yanran looked at Little Bun awkwardly and then looked at Feng Wu. Does Xiao Yi not like me? She was a little sad. She liked that little guy very much. He was so small and chubby and was so cute. Being hated by such a cute little thing made Feng Yanran's mood a little bad. Since she was young, she had always been a likable little girl. No matter how difficult it was to get along with people, they would all like her. But today, she was hated by a little baby. Feng Wu girl did not know how to lie. She looked at Feng Yanran indifferently and then nodded honestly. Yes, he doesn't like you. Chapter 225. Since she had Xiao Bai, Feng Wu no longer had to worry about taking care of children. But Feng Wu knew a lot about her son. For example, if the little guy didn't like someone, he wouldn't be able to hug him. On the contrary, if he liked someone, he would not only ask for a hug, but would also smile and occasionally give a few kisses to the person he liked. Take Master Feng for example. Although this old man looked serious and didn't make children like him, Xiao Yi liked him very much. Not only would he ask for a hug, but he would also give him kisses. Master Feng also liked Xiao Yi very much. Every day, he would come to see the little guy and gave him a lot of good things. Oh. Feng Yanran heard Feng Wu's direct words and her heart ached. Xiao Wu, do you really hate me? What do you not like about me? I can change. Don't hate me, okay? Don't let Xiao Yi hate me, okay? Feng Wu's straightforward words made Feng Yanran misunderstand. This girl thought that Feng Wu hated her so much that she didn't want her son to like her. Xiao Yi cried just now. Maybe it was because Feng Wu didn't want her son to be close to her. Feng Wu, lips pursed, you're thinking too much. What's wrong? Why is Yanran crying? Madame Lan and Feng Tianqing happened to pass by the garden and saw Feng Yanran crying. They immediately came over to see what was going on. Xiao Yi didn't like him, so he cried. Feng Wu's face was expressionless as she said seriously. Looking at her serious face, she believed that no one would believe that she was lying. Feng Yanran was stunned. Obviously, she didn't expect Feng Wu to say this. She couldn't even accuse Feng Wu of lying. I see. Yanran, it's not that Xiao Yi doesn't like you. He's just a little afraid of strangers. After you spend more time together, he will pester you. Madame Lan listened. So it was such a small matter. Fortunately, it wasn't Xiao Wu who bullied Yanran. She still remembered when Feng Yanran first came to the Feng family when she was a child. Everyone doted on her. Xiao Wu felt left out, so she pushed Yanran into the lake. Fortunately, she was found by the servants in time. Yanran only drank some water and was not hurt. However, Xiao Wu was punished by her angry father. That beating almost took Xiao Wu's life. Now, she didn't want history to repeat itself. If it happened again, she didn't know if Xiao Wu would be able to survive. Is that so? I will get closer to Xiao Yi in the future. Xiao Wu, can I often go to your place to see Xiao Yi? Feng Yanran said shyly. Okay. Feng Wu nodded. Yeah. Feng Yanran couldn't understand Feng Wu's indifferent reaction. She still remembered that Feng Wu was an impulsive and irritable girl when she was a child. She didn't expect her to be so tolerant after she grew up. She clearly didn't like her but didn't say it out loud. She pretended nothing in front of her aunt. Feng Wu, who was unaware of the situation, was labeled as a scheming girl by Feng Yanran. You two continue to play. Sister-in-law and I still have things to do, so we won't accompany you. Feng Tianqing looked at the two lovingly and said gently. Although Feng Tianqing had stayed in the Blood Moon Forest for 20 years and had a layer of murderous aura, she was very kind. She spoke and did things very quickly. Everyone in the Feng family liked her very much. Okay, Xiao Wu and I will take care of Xiao Yi and have fun. Feng Yanran smiled slightly. Although her eyes were still a little red, there was a kind of charm that made people feel sorry for her. After the two elders left, Feng Yanran tried to get close to Xiao Yi many times. However, Xiao Yi didn't know why he would cry whenever she got close to him. There was nothing she could do. Feng Yanran, who had always been liked by everyone, was frustrated by Xiao Yi. She wanted Xiao Yi to like her. No matter how Xiao Yi cried, she would approach him again and again. Finally, after making Xiao Yi cry again, Feng Wu, as his mother, was no longer silent. Xiao Yi doesn't like you. Don't get close to him. Feng Wu frowned. She was worried that Xiao Yi would hurt him by crying like this. Xiao Yi had never been a child who liked to cry. It was the first time that he cried like this. I just want him to like me. Feng Yanran said with grievance. Her pair of beautiful eyes blinked and tears seemed to fall at any time. It's not good to force people. Feng Wu was an honest girl. She thought that Feng Yanran had done something wrong, so she directly said the other's ****, without thinking about leaving any face for the other. Feng Wu, what is face? Wu. Xiao Wu, do you have any misunderstanding about me? Why do you hate me so much? When we were young, I always wanted to be good sisters with you. Why don't you like me? Feng Yanran cried in a low voice. Her voice was full of grievance. Unfortunately, our Feng Wu girl hated people crying the most. When she heard Feng Yanran cry so hard, she directly took Xiao Bai and little bun Xiao Yi and left. After Feng Yanran cried for 2 minutes, she found that there was no movement next to her. She looked up with tears in her eyes. There was no one, they had already run away. Feng Yanran was stunned. She didn't expect that Feng Wu would leave like this. She actually left like this. This voice repeated infinitely many times. Finally, Feng Yanran left the garden alone in a daze. After Feng Yanran left, 2 figures came out from the corner of the garden. Brother Tian, Tingting thought you liked cousin Yanran very much. She was crying so sadly just now. Why didn't you comfort her? Feng Ting said with some hidden bitterness. Tian hurriedly explained, No, I have always liked you, Tingting. I would never like cousin Yanran. Feng Ting looked at the anxious Tian suspiciously. There was something wrong with this person. A few days ago, he liked Feng Yanran so much. Today, he said that he would never like Feng Yanran. This was too strange. Feng Ting was confused, but she didn't ask more. She pretended to be generous and forgave Tian. The two talked and laughed as they strolled in the garden. On the day of the Feng family's banquet, almost all the important figures of the big families were present. Even the princes and princesses of the royal family came as representatives. Madame Lan asked Feng Wu if she wanted to go to the banquet. Feng Wu thought about it and shook her head. It sounded troublesome, so she didn't want to go. Madame Lan nodded and let Feng Wu rest in the room. Then, she asked the servants to prepare a lot of food and send it to Feng Wu's room. Only then did she leave and rush to the front hall. As the mistress of the Feng family, she couldn't leave for too long. There were still a lot of guests waiting for her to greet them. Originally, she wanted to let Feng Wu attend this banquet, but she heard some gossip at the banquet just now. She didn't want her daughter to go out and suffer, so she went to Feng Wu's room to ask. Chapter 226. Although it was not a big deal that Feng Wu did not attend this banquet, she still had to explain it to the head of the family, Master Feng. If Feng Wu suddenly did not appear, she was afraid that Master Feng would lose his temper. Madame Lan explained the situation to Master Feng. Master Feng pondered for a moment, and finally nodded heavily. That's it. Prepare more food and send it to her room. That girl loves to eat. It seemed that even Master Feng had discovered the nature of Feng Wu girl's gluttonous nature. Madame Lan hurriedly responded and left to greet the guests. Tonight, the name of Feng Yanran was destined to resound throughout the aristocratic circle of the ancient eastern country. From the gorgeous appearance of Feng Yanran, she replaced the 3 beauties and became the most beautiful fairy in the eyes of all the men present. Although Princess Ronghua, Lan Zhou, and Qiu Ruobing did not become wallflowers that no one paid attention to, the men around them had decreased by at least 2/3. Only 1/3 of them were still with the 3 of them. Although these men were not seduced, their eyes slipped to Feng Yanran's side from time to time. Although the 3 of them did not put these men in their eyes, they believed that any woman would not feel comfortable if her pursuer was stolen by another woman. Princess Ronghua was very lucky. Fortunately, Prince Ming she did not attend this banquet of the Feng family. If Prince Ming she saw Feng Yanran, what if he also fell in love with her? Even if Princess Ronghua was unwilling to admit it, she could not deny the beauty of Feng Yanran. The 3 beauties were not so bad. At least there were some men around them. The other girls were not so good. Compared with the 3 beauties, they were much inferior. Fortunately, the 3 beauties were of high status, and many men looked down on them. Now that Feng Yanran had come, most of the men were fascinated by her. Originally, there were a few men who were trying to please her, but now they all surrounded Feng Yenran. The girls secretly bit their handkerchiefs and called her a little vixen in their hearts. They were jealous of Feng Yenran's beauty. It seemed that in a short time, Feng Yenran had successfully replaced Feng Wu and become the public enemy of all the girls. The appearance of Feng Wu could be considered as a great help to Feng Wu, because the topic of discussion among the aristocratic girls who didn't like her before was no longer about her. They all became the femme fatale Feng Yenran. The Feng family rarely held banquets. This time, they specially held a banquet for Feng Yenran and her mother. It was enough to see how much importance they attached to Feng Yenran and her mother. Madame Lan took Feng Yenran to socialize with all the top-notch ladies and gave Feng Yenran enough face. Feng Wuliu, who was usually serious, also stood with Feng Tianqing all the time. The father and daughter talked and laughed. It was enough to see the deep relationship between father and daughter. All the forces present could see that Master Feng liked the mother and daughter. With Master Feng's favor, Feng Yenran's value immediately increased several times. Many first-class families wanted to look at Feng Yenran for their direct descendants. Although Feng Yenran was not a direct descendant of the Feng family, Master Feng only loved her among so many granddaughters. This was enough to increase her status. How could you tell that Master Feng doted on Feng Yenran the most? Was there a need to see it? Look at the Feng family. Had they ever held a banquet for any granddaughter in the past few years? Feng Yenran had done it. Although this banquet was not held for her alone, her mother, Feng Tianqing, was also there. No matter what, she occupied half of the banquet. Feng Tianqing was Feng Yenran's mother. At a glance, this mother and daughter occupied a pivotal position in Master Feng's heart. Their position in Master Feng's heart was probably much higher than the two daughters of Master Feng. Feng Ting had been smiling elegantly the whole time, but she hated in her heart. What was so great about Feng Yenran? Was Grandpa old and confused? Although Feng Yenran was also surnamed Feng, she was not a real member of the Feng family. At best, she was just a relative. For a relative, he had to hold a banquet for her in the name of the Feng family. Even Feng Juntian had never received this kind of treatment. What the hell was Feng Yenran? Lin, why are you here alone? There are many small games to play over there. Why don't you go over there and have a look? Feng Ting saw Lin sitting alone in the pavilion and eating snacks. She walked forward with a smile and said, "It's you, Feng Ting. What's wrong? Are you not convinced? Do you not want to see Feng Yenran being favored, so you ran out of the banquet hall?" They had already left the banquet hall. There were some small games arranged by Madame Feng for young men and women in the garden. But now they were all playing with the same girl. The boys had long been fascinated by Feng Yenran and were all circling around her. The smile on Feng Ting's face did not change. "What are you talking about, Lin? Why do I feel uncomfortable? I think the one who is really uncomfortable is you. You are both granddaughters of Grandpa, but Grandpa only cares about Feng Yenran. I'm afraid that the position of you three sisters in Grandpa's heart is not as high as Feng Yenran. Grandpa is just leading the wolf into the house. Feng Yenran is destined to destroy the Feng family." Lin suddenly realized that she had said something she should not have said. She suddenly shut her mouth and looked a little annoyed. Destined to destroy the Feng family? What did this mean? What ability did Feng Yenran have to destroy the Feng family, one of the strongest families in the ancient eastern country? Feng Ting was puzzled. Unfortunately, no matter how she asked, she could not get any more important information. The doubts in her heart were not solved, but deepened. "Don't ask any more. It's not good for you to know too much. For the sake of your cousin, I'll remind you that you'd better stay away from Feng Yenran. If you get too close to her, you won't have a good end." After saying this, Lin walked away as if there was a ghost chasing after her. No matter how Feng Ting called her, she did not look back. Instead, she ran faster and faster. What was going on? Feng Ting could not figure it out, but she took Lin's words to heart. Even without Lin's reminder, she would not get close to Feng Yenran. She and Feng Yanran were destined to not be friends. On the second day after the Feng family's banquet, bad news came from the Blood Moon Forest. The enchantment of the Blood Moon Forest was partially destroyed. Many vampires had fled the Blood Moon Forest and hid in the human world. It brought a space crisis to the human world. Fortunately, the Prince of the Silver Moon ancient country had purified the contaminated enchantment and rearranged it. This prevented the vampires from pouring out. However, most of the vampires who fled to the human world were nowhere to be found. The vampires were a race very similar to humans. They looked no different from humans. There had never been an ugly man or woman in the vampires. Chapter 227. Every single one of them had a charming appearance and were naturally proficient in illusions. They could easily charm the opposite sex and make the opposite sex willingly offer up warm blood for them. The blood race's body was incomparably strong and could not be harmed by non-pure silver weapons. They were naturally afraid of the dark and could only live in darkness. The sunlight during the day was the most terrifying thing to them. As long as they were exposed to sunlight, they would turn into ashes and never be reincarnated. However, human blood was like poppy to them, emitting an irresistible fragrance that gave them a desperate desire to devour it. It could be imagined that if such a blood race was released into the human world, it would be a huge blow to the entire human world. It was said that the Star Hall had already sent out most of the Star Generals to hunt down the blood race that had escaped into the human world. It was said that the Notre Dame du Starlight had already called back all the senior students and was about to start a hunt for the blood race. It was said that the royal families of the various empires had already increased their defenses and patrols were constantly increasing. It was said that the various large guilds had already posted missions to capture or kill the blood race, and the rewards were amazing. It was said that the pure weapons in the various cities were already out of stock, and the price of silver ornaments was rising again and again, but the supply still could not meet the demand. This news had spread to every corner of the continent in just a few days. Of course, the ancient Eastern country wouldn't be the only country to suffer from the blood race's reappearance. The number of victims would only increase until all the blood race hiding in the human world were killed. Currently, the entire ancient Eastern country was discussing the birth of the blood race, but Feng Wu's life was very peaceful. The Feng Wu girl was a homebody and spent most of her time in her room cultivating or communicating with a juror. The members of the expert team would also occasionally chat with Feng Wu. Feng Wu's life was very peaceful and happy, except for Feng Yanran, who would occasionally come to her room to visit Feng Yi. Feng Yi still did not like Feng Yanran and did not allow her to come close. Feng Tianqing seemed to like Feng Wu very much. Other than Feng Yanran, Feng Tianqing came to Feng Wu's room the most frequently. Feng Tianqing was very good to Feng Wu. He spoke gently and kindly, and always encouraged Feng Wu to forget the past and look forward. Unfortunately, Feng Wu girl didn't have the original owner's memories. Even if she wanted to forget the original owner's past, she needed memories to make her forget. Feng Wu, I don't understand. On this day, Ming-Shi used the communication crystal to ask Feng Wu to meet him at the same place. In an ordinary house, Feng Wu's Xiaochun was returned to her. Xiaochun was very happy to see its master. Although it felt that this man's aura was not bad, it still liked its master the most. It was a sword with a strong will. It did not think that it would find a new master just because it smelled good. However, it felt very good to go out and play this time. There were a lot of dirty things that it could purify. Ever since it left that small town, this was the happiest time it had. After being satisfied with its master's intimacy, it returned to its master's dantian and continued to rest. It wanted to have a good sleep. It had eaten a lot this time and needed to properly digest it. This time, it was all thanks to Xiaochun. The enchantment outside the Blood Moon Forest was originally destroyed by the vampires. Moreover, it was contaminated by filthy things. The enchantment was almost completely destroyed. Fortunately, with Xiaochun's help, it was finally purified. The enchantment was also rearranged, minimizing the damage. These things are for you. Keep them well. They may be useful in the future. Ming-Shi's face, which was as beautiful as the moonlight, had a faint smile on it. His smile was filled with gentleness, and he didn't seem to be as distant as he usually was when facing unfamiliar people. Feng Wu took the space bag and directly threw it into her own space ring. She did not even look inside. Is it dangerous? Feng Wu seriously raised her head and looked at Ming Shi. After listening to Ming Shi's words, in addition to the news she had heard from the Feng family recently, she suddenly understood why Ming Shi had borrowed Little Silver. Aunt Tian Xing had said that the vampires were very powerful. Was it because Yu Shi had gone to find them? Was it very dangerous? Ming Shi paused. He had not expected Feng Wu to ask such a question, so he smiled and said, "It's fine. I mainly went to purify the enchantment this time, not to attack the vampires. Although there were some small-scale battles, they ended quickly. There was no danger." He was lying. In fact, the situation in Blood Moon Forest this time was much worse than he had imagined. The humans stationed outside Blood Moon Forest were almost completely annihilated. The vampires had already sucked the blood out of the villages close to Blood Moon Forest and turned them into dried corpses. The entire outskirts of Blood Moon Forest was like a purgatory on Earth. When he went to purify the enchantment with the experts of the ancient Eastern country, the vampires had stubbornly resisted. The vampires had even sent out 2 grand princes. A great battle between the two sides was unavoidable. Although the 2 grand princes had been defeated in the end, the human side had also lost several high-level combatants. It could be said that both sides had suffered losses. Of course, he could not tell this to Feng Wu. He did not want this simple girl to worry about him. Feng Wu nodded and took out a box of beautifully packaged biscuits from her space ring. This was made by the Feng family's chef. Feng Wu had recently become addicted to these biscuits and would eat a large plate every day. She wanted to give her favorite things to Ming Shi. The young girl held up the biscuit and looked at him expectantly. It made him feel that not accepting it would be a crime. Reaching out to take the biscuit, Feng Wu's mouth curled into a faint smile. Even her eyebrows were slightly curved. Ming Shi smiled. He had only received the biscuit. How could such a simple action make her so happy? Eat. Feng Wu looked at him seriously and said, "Eat now?" Ming Shi asked. "Eat now." Feng Wu nodded. Ming Shi picked up a biscuit and put it in his mouth. A thick milky fragrance immediately spread throughout his mouth. "The taste is very good. You should eat some too." He passed a biscuit to Feng Wu so that she could eat it. Feng Wu also picked up a biscuit and ate it silently. It was just that the curved corners of her mouth showed that she was in a very good mood. "Xiao Wu, I will leave the ancient Eastern country tomorrow. Today, in addition to returning your sword, another purpose is to say goodbye to you. The next time we meet will probably be after school starts. Take care of yourself. There are many people in this country who are hostile to you. Before leaving the ancient Eastern country, be careful and don't be careless." During Ming Shi's days in the ancient Eastern country, even if he did not specifically inquire about Feng Wu, Princess Ronghua would occasionally talk about Feng Wu. Thanks to Princess Ronghua, Ming Shi knew a lot about Feng Wu's situation in the ancient Eastern country. Princess Ronghua was also a smart woman. She would never speak ill of people directly. Instead, she would lead the topic to let people think about it. Chapter 228. Unfortunately, she met Ming Shi. No matter how Princess Ronghua guided him, Ming Shi would not be fooled. He knew better than Princess Ronghua what kind of girl Feng Wu was. No matter what Princess Ronghua said, he would not believe it, nor would he be swayed. Ming Shi was leaving. Feng Wu pursed her lips. She was a little unhappy, but soon her eyes were bright again. She could still see Ming Shi at school, and when she returned to school, she could see him. After returning to school, she must work harder to marry Ming Shi and let Ming Shi be the baby's father. Feng Wu firmly clenched her hands. Ming Shi left. His departure did not alarm the nobles of the ancient Eastern country. Except for some people in the royal family, no one knew when he left. After Ming Shi left, the most disappointed person was Princess Ronghua. She wanted Ming Shi to be fascinated by her, but unfortunately, she had not succeeded. How could Princess Ronghua be willing to accept this? No matter what Princess Ronghua thought, Ming Shi really left. With a wave of his sleeve, he left behind a broken heart. Xiao Wu, you have to take good care of yourself. You have to get along with your classmates at school. Be careful. Don't let others bully you, okay? Madame Lan stood in front of the gate of the Feng family, crying as she sent her little daughter off. Soon after Ming Shi left, it was time for Feng Wu to go back to school. That was the end of the holiday. Madame Lan was very reluctant to part with her daughter. Her daughter had finally returned to her side, but now she had to leave. This was too sad. Take good care of yourself. If you don't have enough money, tell us. Feng Tianqing said with a calm face. Go to class, don't run around, don't trust others easily, take care of yourself and Xiao Yi. Feng Juntian was also reluctant to part with his sister, but he was different from the others in the Feng family. He was also a student of the Notre Dame du Starlight, but with his strength, he could have applied to graduate a long time ago. Originally, Feng Juntian could apply to graduate, but when he thought of Feng Wu, he gave up on the idea. As long as he hadn't graduated yet, he could go back to school to visit Xiao Wu any time. No matter how reluctant she was, Feng Wu still left with Little Bun and Little White. The teleportation formation flashed, and Feng Wu returned to Central City. A new semester had begun. The second semester of this year had officially begun. Those who did not complete the mission in the previous semester would continue to complete it. Those who had completed the mission and obtained the sensory stone could start a new class with a teacher and embark on the path of exploring the mirage together. Teacher, what kind of place is the virtual realm? Are all the people there fake? But they clearly have thoughts and feelings. They don't look like fake people at all. The first class of the semester was a female teacher named Xia Yeli who was going to explain the history of the virtual realm to everyone. I believe everyone already knows that the virtual realm is a world created by Lord Longza Gamer. I would like to ask if anyone knows why Lord Longza Gamer created the virtual realm before he ascended? Xia Yeli had a naturally youthful face and a very good figure. As for her real age, none of the teachers in the school knew about it. It was to leave a place for us to train safely. It was to make it easier for us to train our spirit power more effectively. It was to allow us to experience the feeling of fighting against all kinds of experts without leaving the school and to break through our limits. The students spoke one after another, but Xia Yeli only smiled without saying anything. Teacher, are we wrong? A student could not help but ask. Of course not. Although this is not a secret in the entire continent, it is not something that everyone knows. If you did not enter the Notre Dame du Starlight, perhaps many of you would never know this secret in your lifetime, Xia Yeli said to everyone with a mysterious expression. Feng Wu blinked as she watched the teacher acting mysterious on the stage. Seeing how calm Feng Wu was, Amogue used his elbow to nudge Feng Wu's hand and asked in a low voice, Xiao Wu, don't you want to know? Yes. Feng Wu turned to look at him and said, Why didn't I see it? Mogue thought helplessly. The teacher on the stage continued, It is said that 1,000 years ago, there was a thrilling battle for the throne in the demon realm. The two masters of this battle were the current demon emperor and the previous demon emperor. The entire class was in an uproar. The birth of the mirage was actually related to the demon realm. This was big news. No one knows how long the demon realm has existed. From what I know, the demon realm has existed for countless years, but only 2 demon emperors have been born. The first one was the first demon emperor born in the demon realm. He was the first demon born in the demon realm, and also the strongest of all the demons. In order to show respect to him, all the demons called him the demon ancestor. This meant that he was the ancestor of all demons. The second one was even more mysterious. He was the god prince of the god realm, possessing the purest god's blood. However, his heart fell into the demon path, and he became a demon god. No one knew the real names of these 2 demon emperors. In order to distinguish the 2 of them, people called the first demon emperor the demon ancestor. The second one was the true master of the demon realm, and people called him the demon emperor. Back then, after the current demon emperor turned from a god into a demon god, the god realm could no longer accommodate him, so he left the god realm with his subordinates and found the demon realm. He defeated the demon emperor at that time and became the new king of the demon realm. Although the demon ancestor was defeated, he did not leave the demon realm. Instead, he and his loyal subordinates launched counterattacks again and again, hoping to take back the demon realm. Unfortunately, the demon ancestor never succeeded. In the last battle for the throne, the demon ancestor was seriously injured and fled from the demon realm to the human realm. Everyone's heart beat faster as they listened. They were very excited. They really didn't expect that such a thing had happened in the demon realm. Moreover, it was related to their human realm. This was too exciting. The entire class listened quietly to Shah Yeli's narration of the battle. Not a single one of them interrupted. Because he couldn't defeat the current demon emperor many times, the demon ancestor gave up. He had a terrible idea in his heart. He wanted to transform our human realm into a new demon realm, and then continue to be the king of the demon realm in this world. What? This demon ancestor is too much. How can he do such a thing? I express my deep disdain for him. Needless to say, that guy must have failed. He couldn't even take over the demon realm, and he still wants to take over the human realm. He's dreaming. Everyone expressed their opinions at once. Most of them expressed their dislike for Lord Devil Ancestor. Chapter 229. The Fengwu girl quietly listened to everyone's discussion and remained silent. Mo Gue, on the other hand, joined the heated discussion and chatted happily with the others. Teacher, what's next? Did the experts of our human race destroy the demon ancestor's body and soul? From then on, he won't dare to have any ideas about our human world. Mo Gue excitedly raised his hand and spoke. Are you stupid? If his body and soul are destroyed, how can he have any ideas about the human world? Mo Gue's words immediately caused a lot of students to ridicule him. You little brats, do you think the demon ancestor is a small character? That's the demon ancestor. Even if he was injured when he fled to the human world, he's still not someone ordinary humans can defeat. At that time, the one who led the humans to surround and kill the demon ancestor was Lord Longza Gamma. At that time, Lord Gamma had already reached the demigod realm. During the battle, he successfully broke through to the divine realm and could ascend to the divine realm at any time. Before he ascended, he used his divine power and a space-type divine item to create the mirage and sealed the demon ancestor's soul in the mirage. In that great battle, countless human experts fell. Many of the fallen experts voluntarily entered the mirage to guard the demon ancestor's demonic spirit. From then on, they lived in the mirage, immortal and indestructible. Before Lord Longza Gamma ascended to the divine realm, he gave the mirage to the Dean of our Notre Dame du Starlight, Lord Nshangyuan. The Dean felt that it was too wasteful to use the mirage to guard the demon ancestor, so he used magic power to divide the mirage into several continents and separate the place where the demon ancestor was imprisoned. As for the other continents, they were used for students to gain experience. Over the years, because of the mirage, the strength of our human world has greatly increased. Because of the blow brought about by the demon ancestor, we finally completely recovered after a long period of time. Even Lord Longza Gamma couldn't completely destroy the demon ancestor? Zelda asked somewhat unwillingly. Longza Gamma had always been the person Silda admired the most. Thinking of how even his idol was unable to completely destroy the fiend ancestor, he couldn't help but feel a little disappointed and indignant. That's not right. The demon ancestor attacking the human realm is such a big deal. The Star Hall should have done something. If the Star Hall had done something, why didn't the teacher mention anything about the Star Hall in the story? A smart student immediately asked honestly. Who told you that the Star Hall didn't take action? The Star Hall suffered heavy losses in that battle. 3 of the 4 successors of the Divine Seal from 2 generations ago were sacrificed in that battle. As for the Star Hall Master, due to some restrictions, he can't use too much power in the human world. That's why he hasn't been able to do anything. That's why the demon ancestor is able to kill us humans in the human world. In that war, too many human beings were sacrificed. Countless high-grade magicians and swordmasters were sacrificed in that war. That war could be said to be the most tragic war in the human world after the war between gods and devils. Teacher, why couldn't the Star Hall Master take action? Even if the Star Hall Master couldn't take action, there's still Ardeen, right? Why couldn't both of them take action? A female swordmaster asked cautiously. I already said that there are restrictions. I'm just a little teacher. How do you want me to answer such a profound question? Shah Yeli angrily slammed the table, scaring all the students into shrinking their necks. It's over. This lowly teacher is so hot-tempered. She glanced at the girl who casually asked a question. What are you asking? Why are you asking so many questions? The girl felt so wronged that she almost burst into tears. I won't ask any more. Class dismissed. Shah Yeli slammed the table again. Holding a textbook, she walked away without looking back. However, her stride seemed to be a little big, as if she was running. Is it okay if she doesn't run? She has to go back and check the books. These students are too blind. Why do they ask the teacher every question? Can't they read more books themselves? The students were speechless. Since some of the students had obtained the induction stones in advance, the school had arranged for a teacher to teach them how to use the induction stones to sense the ethereal plane. Meanwhile, the students who did not obtain the induction stones had no choice but to continue earning money. Most of them had yet to complete their quests. Ugh, if I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have set such a high quest for myself. Why is it so hard to earn money these days? The students who obtained the induction stones, regardless of whether they were from the magician school, swordmaster school, or other schools, were all gathered in a classroom. The students who held the induction stones sat a short distance away from each other and began to sense the entrance to the ethereal plane according to the teacher's instructions. Some of the students tried to learn how to sense the ethereal plane on their own during the holidays. After putting in a lot of effort, they finally managed to enter the ethereal plane. There were also some students who did not learn anything related to the induction stones during the holidays. Due to their lack of experience, it took them quite some time to sense the entrance to the ethereal plane. While a portion of the students were still trying to learn how to sense the ethereal plane, another portion of the students had already sensed the entrance to the ethereal plane and successfully entered it. After Feng Wu entered the ethereal plane this time, she directly went to Xihua City. There was actually a Notre Dame du Starlight in the ethereal plane. Feng Wu did not know about this when she entered the ethereal plane the last time. Now that she heard about it from her teacher, she found out that Notre Dame du Starlight had a classroom in the ethereal plane. The teachers of the Notre Dame du Starlight in the ethereal plane were not the teachers of the outside world. They were the heroic spirits of seniors who had fallen in the battle with the demon lord. Those experts who had died willingly stayed in the ethereal plane. As long as the ethereal plane was not destroyed, they would not die. If they did not find something to do with their slow lives, it would be too boring. Therefore, when the Notre Dame du Starlight invited them to become teachers and teach students, some of the board seniors agreed just to have some fun. It was just that these teachers had very bad tempers. If there were students who couldn't satisfy them, they would mercilessly chase them out of the class they were in charge of. Therefore, one mustn't think that their future would be bright just because they could meet a great teacher. That would depend on whether or not the great teacher would take a liking to you. The ethereal plane was a magical world. As long as one's spiritual power entered the ethereal plane, their spiritual power would continuously increase. Although the increase was very slow, it was still much easier than cultivating in the outside world. This was also one of the reasons why many senior students preferred to stay in the virtual realm. As long as one was in the ethereal plane, their spiritual power would increase even if they did not cultivate. Only a fool would not do such a good thing. Of course, another important reason was the inheritance of the peerless experts who had chosen to stay in the ethereal plane. There were countless opportunities in the ethereal plane. There were powerful inheritances that could not be seen in the outside world, waiting to be discovered. There were also mysterious and powerful teachers waiting to be apprenticed to. Chapter 230. In short, as long as you entered the mirage and had a little bit of luck, Even if you couldn't ascend to the god realm and become a god, you could at least become a sword saint. The powerful inheritances in the Mirage didn't just attract the students of Notre Dame du Starlight. Many aristocratic families and members of the royal family were also attracted by the powerful inheritances. The mysterious Mirage attracted countless young experts, and everyone wanted to be the next lucky person to obtain the powerful inheritances. However, with so many people entering the ethereal plane every day, how many of them could actually obtain the inheritance? The inheritance was also selective. It was not like any random Tom, Dick, or Harry who entered the ethereal plane could casually give a bun to a beggar at the entrance of a village and obtain clues about a mysterious sect or a divine artifact, just like how it was written in online gaming novels. According to the teacher, the Notre Dame du Starlight in the Mirage was located in Xihua City, and what they needed to do was to report to the academy in Xihua City. Fengwu found a kind-hearted auntie and asked for directions. The auntie told Fengwu the location of the Notre Dame du Starlight. After walking for about 15 minutes, they saw a school that looked exactly like the Notre Dame du Starlight in the real world. There were already a few familiar-looking students at the school gate. These were the students who were in the same classroom as Fengwu. This time, there were only about 20 students who had successfully entered the Mirage, and they were led through the school gate by the teacher. The first thing they had to do after arriving at the Notre Dame du Starlight was to take the class assignment test. Teacher, are you kidding me? This is our first day here, and we haven't even learned anything yet. Isn't this too difficult? A boy from the Swordmaster department yelled. That's right, teacher. It's too difficult. Can you let us go and read a few more books before we come back? Teacher, please let us go. If they had known, they wouldn't have gone out to play during the holidays. It would have been better to stay at home and read a few more books. All right, we won't be testing theoretical knowledge. We'll be testing actual combat. The teacher didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he looked at the group of begging students. Phew. That's good, that's good. The boys patted their chests. As long as it wasn't theory, anything was fine. No way, teacher. This is too unfair to us girls. The pretty girls from the sorcerer department couldn't take it anymore. The girls from the sorcerer department didn't have any advantages when fighting with others in the early stages. If they really fought, how could they be the opponents of those animals from the swordmaster department? KSK. You girls from the mage faculty are too useless. If you're so afraid of death, just go home. What's the point of coming to school? The girls of the swordsman department had always looked down on the sorceresses, so of course they wouldn't be polite to them. You bunch of tomboys. What qualifications do you have to talk about us like that? The mage girls couldn't take it anymore, and the girls from both sides were arguing so much that they almost started fighting. Enough. Do you still have any respect for me as your teacher? You should learn from this student. Look at her. She's been standing there obediently and not causing any trouble. Unlike you, you dare to quarrel when the teacher is still here. When the teacher spoke, he looked at the Fengwu girl with a praising gaze. She was the only one who hadn't spoken out of all the girls present. After seeing how powerful those girls were, the young teacher suddenly felt that these quiet girls were so cute. Mage girls. Who is this person? I think she's from the Swordmaster department. She's purposely not speaking to make her presence known in front of the teacher. She's really scheming. Swordmaster department girls. Who is this person? I think she's from our Swordmaster department. A girl from our department is fighting with a girl from the mage department, and you're actually standing there and not getting involved. How disunited. How unfriendly. Fengwu girl. Hurry up and take the exam. I'm hungry. Stop quarreling. Come with me. After the teacher finished speaking, he walked in front and led the way. He brought the new students who had just entered the virtual world version of Notre Dame du Starlight to the exam venue. Following the teacher, the students walked into a large building and stopped at a room on the first floor. Go in, the teacher said. The students opened the door with some curiosity and hesitation. They walked in one by one, with the teacher at the back. There were 4 large doors in the room. Each door looked exactly the same. On the door, There was an introduction to each room written in the common language of the continent. Do you see that? Behind these 4 doors is your examination hall. The content of each door is different. The first 2 doors can only be chosen by the students of the Mage Major, and the last 2 doors can only be chosen by the students of the Swordsman Major. The 4 doors represent 4 different teachers. Now, let me introduce you to the 4 teachers who set up these 4 barriers. The first is the legendary mage Saint Lord Niger from thousands of years ago. Lord Niger is an extremely powerful dual-element mage saint of fire and wood. Lord Niger is best at combat magic. In the future, if you want to become a combat mage, you can choose the first door. The second teacher is also a warlock saint. It's just that this teacher doesn't major in combat magic, but in support magic. I believe many people have heard of this teacher's name before. She's the female warlock Saint Marigir, whose life is filled with legends. Mage Saint Marigir is a female mage saint whose life is full of legends. She has the power of light and wood. These 2 powers can not only be used as support in battle, but they can also be used alone in battle. In the library of Notre Dame du Starlight, there is a book on support magic written by Mage Saint Marigir. In the future, if you want to become an outstanding support mage, you can choose the second door. After the introduction of the 2 teachers, it immediately caused the students to discuss in low voices. Most of the boys chose the first door, while most of the girls chose the second door. The third teacher is a sword saint. I believe all of you are familiar with his name. He is a peerless master of both magic and martial arts, the Heaven-Extinguishing Sword Saint. It's actually the Heaven-Extinguishing Sword Saint. Oh my God, are we dreaming? He is a legendary figure from thousands of years ago, so he also fell in that great battle. My grandfather told me before that if the Heaven-Extinguishing Sword Saint didn't fall in an accident, he would definitely ascend to the divine realm. For the sake of the Heaven-Extinguishing Sword Saint, I must choose the third door. No one can stop me. I will fight whoever tries to stop me. KSK. Who has the time to stop you? Don't block the third door, okay? You are blocking my way. I must be the first to rush in for the exam later. Hearing the name Heaven-Extinguishing Sword Saint, many students went crazy. The Heaven-Extinguishing Sword Saint was a true peerless sword saint. Legend had it that he was the existence closest to the sword god. Chapter 231. As long as they could stay by his side, even if they only learned a few moves, they would definitely not be bad in the future. Even if they were bad, they would still be able to become a legendary swordmaster. The students of the Swordmaster Department could not help but fantasize about their legendary lives after becoming the disciple of the Heaven-Extinguishing Sword Saint. The fourth teacher is a female sword saint. People call her the Soul-Snatching Sword Saint. Many people don't know her real name, including me. However, even Lord Longza Gamma praised her strength back then. As for how strong she is, I'm not sure either. There are too few legends left behind by the Soul-Snatching Sword Saint. Other than people of the same generation as her, I believe that not many people know about her. Therefore, I can't give you more introductions. You can all choose according to your own ideas. This is too irresponsible. I don't know if this explanation is powerful or not. I still insist on my opinion. Choosing the Heaven-Extinguishing Sword Saint is definitely not wrong. Me too. I'll choose the Heaven-Extinguishing Sword Saint. We'll choose the Heaven-Extinguishing Sword Saint too. Teacher, is the difficulty of the assessment behind these 4 doors the same? What will happen if we can't pass the assessment? A female mage asked timidly. Yes, what if they couldn't pass the assessment? After being reminded by this young mage, everyone woke up from their dreams of being able to learn from the Warlock Saint. Teacher, if we can't pass the assessment, we should be able to retake the assessment, right? A male mage asked weakly. This time, the Swordmaster Department did not laugh at the cowardice of the Mage Department. They did not have confidence themselves. It was obvious that the assessment set by a Warlock Saint was not simple. Retake the assessment. Dream on. If you can't pass the assessment, you can go to an ordinary class and have a chance to become the disciple of a warlock saint. Every student only has one chance. If you can't pass the assessment, you won't have another chance. Of course, if your performance is outstanding enough in the later stages, you still have a chance to be accepted by a warlock saint, although this chance is almost non-existent. Hearing this answer, the scene was instantly filled with grief. So there was only one chance. If they succeeded, they would die trying. Teacher, other than these 4 teachers, are there any other teachers we can choose? If they chose a less difficult one, their chances of passing the assessment would be much higher. There is another teacher who is a demigod. Back then, he was only half a step away from becoming a true god and ascending to the divine realm. That teacher also set up an examination venue. Do you all want to go and try? The teacher looked at the students coldly and said. The students looked at each other and blinked in disbelief. Demigod. Was this for real? He actually had a teacher who was a demigod. We're not dreaming, are we? Teacher, I just want to ask. Is their demigod teacher the magic god or the sword god? Imogue asked impatiently. That was a demigod. After the true gods ascended to the divine realm, demigods became the strongest fighting force in the human world. There were only a few known demigods in the human world. Now that there was a chance to become a disciple of a demigod, anyone would be overjoyed. The mage students were equally excited. This was too unexpected. It was already a miracle that they could meet a warlock saint as their teacher. They didn't expect that the real highlight was still here. They were too happy. It had to be a magic god. It had to be a magic god. You all are in luck. That master is a peerless expert who cultivates both magic and martial arts. You can call him a magic god or a sword god. If you are interested, you can all give it a try. However, you should be able to guess that the test set up by that master will not be simple. As far as I know, for thousands of years, no student has been able to pass his test. Even those geniuses who are a few years older than you could not do it. However, I have good news for you. This master's test will not be counted together with the other 4 teachers' tests. Therefore, if you fail, you can still choose one of the other 4 doors to take the test again. This news was really good news for all the students. Originally, each person only had one chance, but now it had become 2. This news couldn't be better. Even if they couldn't become a disciple of a demigod, they could at least take the test to become a warlock saint's, sword saint's, disciple again. Alright, now you can enter the test venue that you have chosen. If you choose the test venue set up by a demigod, look over here. The teacher pointed in the direction behind them. They saw that a golden door had appeared on the originally empty wall. After passing through this golden door, you will reach the test venue set up by the demigod. If you want to go quickly. Although I don't think that any of you will be lucky enough to be chosen by a demigod, you should not let go of this opportunity, the teacher said without much hope. The students were silent. Did he have to be so discouraging? Could he still be a teacher and student happily? The golden door was right in front of them, and the test behind this door did not count. In other words, even if they failed, they still had another chance to take the test. This was such a good thing, so no matter what, they had to go in and take a look. No one chose to go through the other doors first. As long as there was a chance, no one would not want to become a disciple of a demigod. Among these students, not all of them were so excited that they lost their minds. At the very least, a few of them were still very clear-headed. They were Fengwu, Ajur, Zicheng, and Irene. Fengwu did not think that becoming a disciple of a demigod was a big deal at all. Because she did not feel anything, she was not excited. Ajur had already received the recognition of the seal of Xia of the 4 god seals. He had already received the best. Naturally, the other inheritances would not be able to catch his eye. As for Zicheng, it was because she had the favorability system. With the system in hand, as long as she had enough favorability, there was nothing that she could not exchange for. Although she also wanted to be recognized by a demigod and be accepted as a disciple, she would not lose her mind for such a small benefit. Among the 4 of them, Irene was the most confused. Irene's mind was in a mess, but it was not because of the excitement of hearing that a demigod was going to accept a disciple. The reason for her confusion was very simple. It was because, in her memory, the female lead Zicheng had never participated in any demigod's disciple test. In the novel, there were only 4 doors to choose from. Zicheng had chosen the first door and became the disciple of a powerful combat sorcerer as a woman. But now, the content of the test had not changed. Instead, there was an additional test for a demigod's disciple. Where did this demigod come from? Could it be that he was also a transmigrator? Irene had many guesses in her mind, but she could not confirm which one was the closest to the truth. She took a few deep breaths to sort out her chaotic thoughts. She had to calm down. After all, this was not the first time the plot had changed. How many times had it been? She had to get used to it. She could not be distracted by such a small matter. Chapter 232. Fengwu calmly followed the person in front of her into the golden door. After entering the door, her consciousness went into a trance for a moment. When she regained her senses, she realized that she had appeared in an ordinary little village. However, the others who entered the door with her did not see anything. When Fengwu saw this village, she was first in disbelief, then her eyes were filled with eagerness. She took large strides and ran in the village. The expression on her face seemed to be happy and joyful. Her originally expressionless face was now filled with excitement. She ran in the village and looked at the villagers walking around her. Fengwu looked at each and every familiar figure. Even if they were the children who had bullied her before, she still felt very close to them. Fengwu called out their names, but no one answered her. She reached out to grab a woman's clothes, but her outstretched hand passed through the woman's arm. Fengwu looked at her own hand with some disgust. She watched these familiar yet unfamiliar people come and go in front of her. The children in the village played around in front of her. All of this scene was so familiar yet so strange. "Master!" Fengwu called out softly sadly. She turned to look at the mountain not far away. Wasn't this mountain the Mount Yuehua that Fengwu had lived in for more than 10 years in her previous life? She did not look at the villagers anymore. Instead, she quickly ran towards the mountain she had lived in for more than 10 years. On the mountain top, the bamboo house was still there, the hot spring was still there. Even the little animals that used to play with Fengwu were still in their original places. Only the master she cared about the most was nowhere to be seen. She searched the entire Mount Yuehua but could not find him. Fengwu was very sad. Master was gone. Would she never be able to find Master again? She missed Master so much. Fengwu's eyes reddened. She tried hard not to let her tears fall. "Don't cry, don't cry." Master said before that the strong shed blood but not tears. She could not cry. She sniffled and held back her tears. She suddenly remembered that there was still a place she had not searched. That was the place where Master was in seclusion. She had not seen that place yet. Master must be there. Thinking of this, Fengwu's eyes instantly lit up. She was no longer depressed. She used her qinggong and used her fastest speed to go to the place where her master was in seclusion. There was a waterfall there, and behind the waterfall was a naturally formed cave. Her master was in that cave. With Fengwu's strength, it was very easy for her to pass through the cave. She walked into this familiar cave. In this cave, she didn't find her master. Instead, when she walked into the stone room where her master was in seclusion, the entire stone room underwent an unexpected change. In the blink of an eye, the stone chamber disappeared, Mount Yuehua disappeared, the village disappeared, and everything she was familiar with disappeared. Fengwu found that she had arrived at a huge square. All the people who had come to participate in this assessment were gathered in the square. Fengwu didn't have time to look at the surrounding environment when a familiar voice sounded. Fengwu had heard this voice since she was young in her previous life. She was simply too familiar with this voice. "Welcome to this place. You should have seen the scene just now. Now, answer a few of my questions. If you can answer all of my questions correctly, you can become my disciple." An elegant and peerless voice suddenly resounded in the sky above the square. The square descended from the sky, and one could see a large expanse of the sky. There was not a single person in sight, and no one knew where the person who called himself by Lien Feng was standing and talking to them. The students looked at each other in dismay. Their eyes were filled with surprise and excitement. It was finally going to start. Great, quickly ask, we will definitely answer well. First question, what is the name of the village that you saw? Second question, what is the name of the big yellow dog at the entrance of the village? Third question, what is the name of the mountain outside the village? Fourth question, who is your favorite person? Fifth question, who am I? What kind of question was this? Were all demigod-level experts so unpredictable? What is the name of the village? What kind of question is this? How would I know? Is that big yellow dog called Big Yellow? Someone guessed. I don't know. I can't answer a single question. Someone had already given up. Could it be that this Lord doesn't intend to accept any disciple, so he came up with this method to make fun of us? Zicheng secretly frowned. Even she couldn't answer this kind of question. She was very doubtful whether there was a standard answer to these questions. Irene, what is going on? What kind of stupid question is this? I can't answer it at all. It seems like I can only give up. Many people shook their heads and sighed in disappointment. The village is called Zhang Family Village. The big yellow dog is called Little Yellow. The mountain outside the village is called Mount Yu. The person I like the most is my master. You are my master. Feng Wu seriously looked at the sky and answered word by word. After everyone heard Feng Wu's answer, they didn't even have time to express their thoughts before they were ejected from the examination room. When they recovered, they had already appeared outside the golden door. What is going on? Could it be that the girl got it right? So many people had been ejected, but the only person who answered the question wasn't among them. It was hard for them not to think about it. It can't be. That examination is too strange. Where did these answers come from? Why didn't I notice anything? Damn, she became a demigod's disciple just like that. Isn't it too easy? At least she should have passed all the tests. Why didn't I have such good luck? She became a demigod's disciple just like that? It's too easy to be a demigod's disciple. The teacher who was guarding outside was very indifferent when he saw them being ejected. However, after hearing the students' conversation, he couldn't stay calm anymore. What are you talking about? Someone really passed. The teacher was so shocked that his jaw almost dropped. After so many years, he didn't know how many batches of students there had been, but there had never been a student who could gain the favor of that lord. Could it be that his luck was so good today? He actually witnessed that lord accepting a disciple. Who is it? Do any of you know the successful student? Which one is it? Is it from the sorcerer department or the swordsman department? The teacher anxiously grabbed the student closest to him and shook him with all his might. The unlucky student almost fainted from the shaking. Teacher, calm down, calm down. I'm almost fainted from your shaking. Please spare me. I don't know who that is. I only know that it's a girl. The student who was being shaken said impatiently. Who knows who that girl is? If anyone knows her, quickly come out and explain. The teacher finally let go of the unlucky student and turned his attention to the other students. Chapter 233. Teacher, that girl seems to be Feng Wu from the Swordmaster Department. Irene said. Feng Wu? Who's that? Why do I feel like I've heard this name before? Could it be that she's a famous person in the lower grades? That makes sense. To be able to be accepted as a disciple by a demigod expert, she can't be a nobody in the school. The teacher thought for a moment before nodding his head as if he was certain of something. Teacher, Feng Wu is very famous. She proposed to Senior Ming Shi in front of everyone in the cafeteria on the first floor in the first semester. She also had a child out of wedlock at such a young age. How could she not be famous? Rika was also one of the people who entered the virtual realm this time. After completing the mission last semester, although she didn't get into the top 10, she still got into the top 50. She received a sensory stone and had the opportunity to enter the virtual realm. Rika hated Fengwu the most. She couldn't bear to see Fengwu in the limelight. So it's her. I was wondering why her name sounded so familiar. Those who didn't recognize Fengwu at first, but after hearing Rika's explanation, it wasn't easy for them to not recognize her. Students who were able to accomplish such a feat in the first semester were so rare that there was practically no one. At the very least, in the past few decades, they had only encountered such an oddball like Fengwu. She's the girl who proposed to Senior Ming Shi? She's not bad looking. No wonder she has the courage to pursue Senior Ming Shi. What courage? She's just shameless. This was someone who was envious. Don't talk nonsense. She soared to the sky. Even if Senior Ming Shi rejected her, didn't she still become a demigod's disciple? Being a demigod's disciple is even more glorious than proposing to Senior Ming Shi. If we were to say bad things about her here, who knows if that gloomy-looking girl would make things difficult for us. This was someone who was trying to scare people. That makes sense. Some people thought about it and felt that it made sense. Ajur looked coldly at Rika, who had started the discussion. Rika was not afraid of Ajur since there were so many people here. She even fearlessly gave Ajur a provocative look. She couldn't wait for Ajur to lose his mind in anger and attack her in front of the teacher. After all, this was the virtual realm. Even if she was killed, she wouldn't really die. If Ajur really dared to attack her in front of the teacher, he would definitely be punished by the school rules. Unfortunately, Ajur was not a fool. If he wanted to deal with Lika, there were plenty of opportunities. He would not do something stupid for such a woman. Seeing the disdain in Ajur's eyes, Rika's heart was filled with hatred. Damn it! One day, she would make Ajur pay the price for looking down on her. Enough! Stop talking. Since you all failed the exam this time, go and choose another door to take the exam. If you don't pass this time, you won't have another chance. Because of the teacher's reminder, the students who had mixed feelings about Fengwu passing the demigod exam suddenly remembered that there was something more important than staying here to gossip. Their exam was not over yet. No matter how chaotic the outside world was, behind the golden door, Fengwu finally saw the master she had been longing for. Fengwu's master, Bai Lianfeng, was a peerlessly beautiful middle-aged man. Not only was he extraordinarily handsome, his strength had reached the peak of his original world. Master! Fengwu threw herself into her master's arms, her little head happily rubbing against her master's chest. You little girl, where did you go? Your master has been looking for you for thousands of years. If it wasn't for the divination saying that you would definitely appear in this world, I would have ascended to the god realm long ago. Bai Lianfeng patted his beloved disciple's head. He, Bai Lianfeng, had defeated all the experts in the world in his life, but he had only taken in one foolish disciple. His foolish disciple, Tianlan, was the person he was most worried about. The two of them had relied on each other for more than 10 years, and Bai Lianfeng had long since taken Tianlan as his own daughter. If he could not find her, even if it was the god realm, he would be too lazy to ascend. Master, Tianlan really misses you. Fengwu looked at her master with red eyes. In front of her master, she had turned back into Tianlan, the Tianlan who lived a carefree life on Mount Yuehua. Don't cry. Have you forgotten that I don't like crying children? Bai Lianfeng pinched his beloved disciple's bun face. Although his beloved disciple's appearance had changed, her chubby little face was still as good to the touch. Fengwu blinked. I didn't cry. I never cry. She looked at Bai Lianfeng seriously. Well done. You're not allowed to cry in the future, okay? He nodded and gave his beloved disciple a praising smile. Fengwu was happy to be praised by her master. Master, are we going home? Fengwu thought about her friends in this world, and the family she had just met. She suddenly felt a little reluctant to leave. Bai Lianfeng fell silent. Go home. If they could really go back, Why would he and Tian come to this world? Lon, I'm afraid we won't be able to return home on Mount Yuehua in the future. But it's okay. I've created a place in the virtual realm that's exactly the same as Mount Yuehua. When you come to the virtual realm, you can live there with me. Bai Lianfeng didn't explain much as he patted Feng Wu's head. Okay. Feng Wu nodded her little head. The Feng Wu girl was very happy that she didn't have to be separated from her friends and family. Master, Lon, has made friends and family. Ajur, Ming Shi, Mo Gui, Pei Qing. Feng Wu listed her friends one by one. She wanted to introduce all of them to her master. Not bad, but you have to be careful. Don't be fooled by others. Bai Lianfeng knew his disciple's foolish nature. Fortunately, this girl's luck had always been good. She really hadn't been successfully fooled before. He didn't know if it was fortune for fools. I won't be fooled, Feng Wu said with certainty. All right, it's good to have confidence, but I shouldn't discourage her. He had clearly traveled through time with his beloved disciple. He didn't expect to be separated by thousands of years. If he hadn't insisted on staying here to wait for his foolish disciple, he was afraid that by the time she came to this world, he would have already ascended to the God realm with Longzi Gamma. Fortunately, he had set up this seemingly perfunctory test to accept a disciple. He knew that the only person who could answer his 5 questions was his disciple, Tianlan. For thousands of years, so many people had come to challenge the test, but Tianlan had never appeared. Fortunately, his wait wasn't in vain. He finally met this foolish girl. Chapter 234. Seeing his disciple that he had been waiting for, Bai Lianfeng was in a good mood. At the same time, he was curious about what had happened to his beloved disciple. Tell Master, what have you experienced since you came to this world? You haven't been bullied, have you? Feng Wu looked at Bai Lianfeng and told him everything that had happened since she came to this world. Feng Wu had never been a person with a talent for telling stories. When she talked about what she had experienced, she did not have any feelings at all. It was just the most ordinary narration. Bai Lianfeng listened to Feng Wu's story. He had gone from the initial shock to the current calmness. He had never thought that his young disciple would already have a child. It seemed that when this child transmigrated, she was already giving birth. What kind of luck was this? Thinking about himself, when he transmigrated, he had directly become a baby and was born in a small noble family. Fortunately, he did not transmigrate as a son of a concubine. Although his background was not very high, he was still the only young master of the direct line of descent in that small family. Because he was the only heir of the family, he had never suffered any hardships since he was young. With the experience of his previous life, cultivation was simply too simple. Thinking about his own life, and then thinking about what Feng Wu had encountered after transmigrating, Bai Lianfeng cast a pitiful look at his disciple. This girl's luck was too bad. She was really pitiful. If there's a chance, Master really wants to see your cheap son. Unfortunately, Master can't leave the ethereal realm right now. After Master leaves here, I'll go see your son. With Bai Lianfeng's strength, if he wanted to leave the ethereal realm, he could do so at any time. After leaving, he would just have to find materials to rebuild his body. In that great battle, his body had already been destroyed. If he wanted to rebuild his body, the materials he needed were very difficult to find. Moreover, they were abnormally precious. Now that he had found his beloved disciple, he could just let Xiao Lan work a little harder and help her beloved master find the materials to rebuild his body. Bai Lianfeng confidently thought about how to enslave his little disciple to help him find the materials to rebuild his body in the future. The Feng Wu girl still didn't know that a certain unscrupulous master had begun to miss her. She was still immersed in the joy of finding her master. Master, why are we here? Feng Wu was not a fool, but she rarely forced herself to think about things that she did not know the answer to. Inexplicably coming to such a strange world, anyone would doubt the reason why they suddenly came here. Feng Wu girl certainly had doubts, but she couldn't figure it out, so she didn't think about it. Now, she met her master. In Feng Wu's mind, her master was the smartest and most powerful person in the world. She had long been used to asking her master for answers to things she didn't understand. Xiao Wu, this is a long story. Let master tell you slowly. By Lianfeng sighed. Thinking of the reason why the master and disciple had crossed over, he also wanted to sigh. In fact, it was very dangerous at the time. If he hadn't taken Xiao Wu away in time, it was likely that the master and disciple wouldn't have been able to survive until now. They would have been annihilated along with the dimension. The world that Bai Lianfeng and Feng Wu lived in was called the Little Dust World. In this Little Dust World, there were many mortals and cultivators. The lifespan of mortals was no more than 100 years. Those who could live to 100 years were considered long-lived people. But cultivators were different. They cultivated internal strength. Internal strength was divided into 12 layers. Legend has it that once one's internal strength surpassed 12 layers, they could reach the legendary Xiantian realm. In the Little Dust World, there were naturally Xiantian masters. Bai Lianfeng's previous cultivation was the Xiantian realm. The Xiantian realm was the strongest fighting strength in the Little Dust World. After reaching the Xiantian realm, it was impossible to increase one's strength any further. Legend has it that a long time ago, the Little Dust World also had many Xiantian masters. But unfortunately, one day, someone in the Little Dust World offended a disciple of a big clan in the Great Thousand World. That big clan sent a peerless master to change the heavenly Tao of the Little Dust World. Since then, no Xiantian masters had appeared in the Little Dust World. Bai Lianfeng was a genius. His talent was the most heaven-defying in the Little Dust World in the last 10,000 years. With such heaven-defying talent, why would he want to be trapped in the Xiantian realm forever? He began to travel the world and explored many dangerous places and secret realms. In the end, he finally found a way to continue to increase his strength. And that was to jump out of this world. Only by jumping out of this world could he continue to explore a higher realm. Bai Lianfeng searched for a long time and finally found a way to leave the Little Dust World. That method was to find the World Stone of the Little Dust World. Every Little Dust World had a World Stone. This World Stone was the heart of the world. As long as he found the World Stone, he could use the power of the World Stone to leave the Little Dust World. But where was the World Stone of the Little Dust World? He kept searching and learning the art of divination. Finally, he found a way to find the World Stone. The World Stone of the Little Dust World was the purest energy in the world. It did not accept any impure humans near it. In this aspect, it was very similar to the pure sword. Bai Lianfeng calculated that it was impossible to obtain the World Stone with his own strength. So, he used his own divination art to calculate the location of the person who could obtain the World Stone. He didn't expect that person to be a baby. That child was naturally the former Tian Lan. In order to obtain the World Stone, Bai Lianfeng adopted the abandoned Tian Lan. Tian Lan was a girl with a pure mind without any distracting thoughts. It was probably because of this trait that she learned everything very quickly. She was also very loved by animals and plants. Bai Lianfeng adopted Tian Lan. In the beginning, perhaps he didn't have a goal. But after many years of being together, he had already raised Tian Lan as his own child. He used his own methods to teach Tian Lan many things. When Tian Lan grew up, Bai Lianfeng brought Tian Lan to a place. Tian Lan did not spend any effort and obtained the World Stone that no one could obtain. After obtaining the World Stone, Bai Lianfeng used the World Stone's power to set up a heaven-defying great formation. He forcefully opened a passage to another world. Of course, when he left, he did not forget to bring Tian Lan along. Tian Lan had never been a very curious person. She did whatever her master told her to do. She did not even know what Bai Lianfeng was doing. Because Bai Lianfeng needed to control the great formation, Feng Wu girl was sent into the passage that was forcefully opened before she knew anything. After Feng Wu girl left, Bai Lianfeng wanted to send himself away too. He didn't expect that the fact that he used the World Stone's power to forcefully open a passage was finally discovered by the person who changed the heavenly Tao. Chapter 235. Bai Lian Feng did not see who that person was. She only saw a hand descending from the sky, and she even heard someone call him an ant that overestimated himself. The little dust world immediately crumbled, lightning flashed, and thunder rumbled. Countless cracks appeared in the sky, and the entire Mount Yuehua on the ground began to collapse. The little dust world was suddenly filled with wails, and countless creatures lost their lives in this disaster. As for Bai Lian Feng, his luck was pretty good. He managed to escape from the Little Chen world at the last moment. Whether the Little Chen world was completely destroyed or not, Bai Lian Feng didn't know. When he regained consciousness, he had already turned into a newborn brat. After passing through the world membrane of Little Dust World, he arrived at the Greater Thousand World. This world had a very complete heavenly Tao law. The people here were much stronger than Little Dust World, but the cultivation system was completely different. Bai Lianfeng began his cultivation path. He became stronger step by step. As he became stronger, he searched for his missing disciple. Until just now, he finally found her. Who would have thought that just because they had left the small world of magic for a short period of time, 1,000 years had passed in the Greater Thousand Realms. Moreover, both of their bodies were destroyed when they passed through the world membrane. The master and disciple were lucky enough to be reborn. After listening to Bai Lianfeng's story, Feng Wu was silent for a long time. It seemed like she was digesting this information. Bai Lianfeng looked at his little disciple. He hadn't seen her for so many years, but she was still so silly. So that's how I came to be. Feng Wu nodded. She didn't feel sad because Little Dust World might be destroyed. She also didn't feel sad because her master only took her in to use her. The master and disciple had been together for so many years. They already had a father-daughter relationship. Feng Wu didn't care about the reason why Bai Lianfeng took her in and raised her. Those things weren't that important to Feng Wu. Bai Lianfeng understood his disciple very well. He knew that Feng Wu wouldn't be angry and wouldn't think too much about it. Otherwise, he wouldn't have told her everything so generously. Master, eat a bun. After getting the answer she always wanted to know, Feng Wu girl was happy. She took out 2 buns, one for her master and one for herself. Bai Lian Feng calmly received it, and the 2 master and disciple each took a steamed bun, eating with relish. Feng Wu had found her master, and Bai Lianfeng had also found her beloved disciple who had been separated from her for thousands of years. The master and disciple sat together, drinking tea and eating buns. The other students were not so idle. They were currently very busy with passing the examination. If it was said that Bai Lianfeng's test was set up to find Feng Wu, then there was no danger or difficulty in it. It was just like going in for a sightseeing tour. However, the tests in the other 4 doors were not easy at all. The difficulty of each door was extremely high, and it was also very dangerous. If one was not careful, they would be sent out with heavy injuries. After a few hours, 2 people finally got the chance to be apprenticed to a famous teacher. Both of them were sorcerers. One was Irene, and the other was Zicheng. The 2 of them had successfully become the disciples of Melchior and Niger, the 2 powerful warlock saints. The sorcerers were extremely proud. Although the swordmasters were also angry, they still had Feng Wu on their side, who was even more powerful, so they could handle the situation. What's so great about you sorcerers? Our swordmaster, Feng Wu, has successfully become the disciple of a demigod. What's there to be proud of? The 2 sides looked at each other fiercely. Unfortunately, neither side had the upper hand. A Jur yawned and stood outside the golden door, waiting for Feng Wu to come out. This examination was dispensable to him. As the successor of the 4 god seals, his teacher had already been confirmed. This kind of examination was nothing to him. He just went in and walked around casually before coming out. Why hasn't Xiao Wu come out yet? Mo Gue stood beside a Jur, a little worried. Although this kind of examination was usually not dangerous, they had been in there for so long. Even those who had entered the gate to participate in the examination later had come out. Why was Feng Wu, who had completed the demigod disciple examination first, not out yet? Emogue wasn't the only one worried. Ajur also frowned from time to time. Teacher, are you sure Fengwu will be fine? What can happen? This is Notre Dame du Starlight's territory. Behind every door is the hero who defeated the demon lord. What can they do to Fengwu? The teacher rolled his eyes. Children nowadays like to worry for nothing. Finally, just as Emogue and Ajur were about to burst out of their eyes, the golden door opened again. The Fengwu girl's familiar face finally came out. Xiao Wu, why did you take so long to come out? We were so worried. We thought something happened to you in there. Emogue was the first to rush up and yell. It's nothing. I saw my teacher, and then we chatted and ate buns together, Fengwu said. Congratulations. It looks like you really succeeded in becoming a demigod's disciple. You're so lucky. Emogue was very happy for Fengwu. Congratulations, Xiao Wu, you found a good master. Ajur was also happy for his friend. Fengwu had been taught by a great teacher. It was naturally something to be happy about. When the others saw that Fengwu had not come out for so long, they kept guessing whether she had succeeded or not. Some said that she had succeeded, while others said that she had not. Now that they had an accurate answer, many people were envious. Even Zicheng was a little envious of Fengwu's good luck. Many people dreamed of being accepted as a disciple by a demigod, but Fengwu had easily achieved it. In order to become Warlock Saint Nigel's disciple, she had gone through a series of hardships. She had fought against magical beasts of a higher level and broken through an illusion array. Looking at Fengwu, she had become a demigod's disciple after only answering 5 questions. Compared to Fengwu, the process of becoming a disciple was much more complicated. Of course, Irene had many thoughts in her heart, but she still went forward to congratulate Fengwu. She was also someone who had a great opportunity. As long as Zicheng did not benefit, she did not care who got the opportunity to become a demigod's disciple. Moreover, she had another god-tier inheritance. How could a demigod's disciple compare to her inheritance? As she had a more important inheritance, Irene did not feel much jealousy in her heart. No matter what these students thought, they all went forward to congratulate Fengwu for finding a good teacher. Moreover, it was a great teacher. Even the teacher looked at Fengwu with a much more amiable attitude. He even praised Fengwu for being able to become a demigod's disciple. Chapter 236. Of course, Zicheng and Irene, who passed the first and second door respectively, were also praised by the teacher. The 3 of them immediately became the model students, the representatives of this batch of new students. They followed the teacher to familiarize themselves with the Mirage version of Notre Dame du Starlight. The size of the Notre Dame du Starlight in the Mirage was exactly the same as the one in the real world. The only difference was that there was a forest outside the Notre Dame du Starlight. There were many magical beasts in the forest, and their levels ranged from high to low. The further they went, the lower the level they were. The closer they were to the center, the higher the level of the magical beasts. This forest was where the students of Notre Dame du Starlight usually practiced their actual combat. Every magical beast had the same combat strength as a real magical beast in the real world. They weren't easy to defeat. Normal new students didn't even dare to go near them. The teacher brought Fengwu and the others around the school and pointed out the places they couldn't go yet. He warned them not to go there by mistake, or else their lives might be in danger. After the teacher brought the group of new students around the school, he brought them to report to the teachers of the Mirage branch. After that, they were assigned to different classes. There were a total of 20 or so students, and they were assigned to different classes according to their specialization. Although they didn't have to attend any classes in the Mirage, they still had to complete the homework given by the teacher. Every now and then, they would have to take an exam. Life wasn't easy. The students who had a teacher were even more tired. Not only did they have to complete the homework given by the school, but they also had to complete the homework given by their teacher. Although it was very tiring, they would learn more. The first day at the Mirage branch was to register and be assigned to different classes. Classes would only begin after all 50 students had entered the Mirage. Because they had obtained the sensory stone before the other students, the way they attended classes was different from the other seniors. It could be seen as the difference between the elite class and the normal class. 3 days later, all the students who had obtained the induction stones had successfully entered the ethereal plane. It was time for them to start their classes. If the mage department's classes were mostly theoretical classes, they would spend most of their time practicing magic incantations. However, the swordsman department was the exact opposite. The swordsman department placed more emphasis on actual combat. In the freshman class of the Mirage swordsman department, there were only 20 or so people. From now on, these 20 or so people would have to undergo the same training. None of the Notre Dame du Starlight students were weak, because the weak had already been eliminated. The mage department did not recruit as many people as the swordmaster department, so the elimination rate was not high. The swordmaster department, on the other hand, had a high elimination rate. Basically, a few people would be eliminated every year. This was the first day of class for Feng Wu and the others. Everyone was very excited. Students who were able to attend classes in the virtual realm at the beginning of the second semester of their first year were undoubtedly the top students who had performed well in the previous semester. In just a short semester, they had earned enough money without relying on anyone and entered the top 50 rankings. These people were not simple, whether it was in terms of intelligence or strength. The 20 or so people stood on the school's field. Standing in front of them was Teacher James. At the beginning of this semester, Teacher James had been arranged to teach them actual combat. Many of you should already know me. My name is James. From now on, I will be the teacher of your actual combat class. In the coming days, I will be supervising you. I hope that you will all be able to complete the tasks that I have arranged. Everyone's strength will be improved. James spoke with a very serious face and an expressionless face. Now, I will arrange your first task. You can treat it as homework that you must complete today. Now, follow me. After saying what he wanted to say, James led the 20 or so excited students into a room in the school. This room was very large, and there were 20 or so large doors in the room. Behind this door is the place where you will complete today's mission. Inside this room is a special world. There are many low-level magical beasts inside. When you go in, each of you will kill at least 2 magical beasts and give me their magical cores. Here, I want to remind you that if you fail to complete the task even once, 3 points will be deducted from your evaluation. If your evaluation score is less than 60 points, you will immediately be expelled from the school. You will not have the opportunity to retake the exam. So, you had best be careful with every task that I give you. The students who had thought that it was just an ordinary task and that they would be scolded by the teacher if they couldn't complete it all changed their expressions. Everyone began to treat this task seriously. Teacher, since points will be deducted, can we also get bonus points? Emogue raised his hand impatiently. James nodded approvingly. That's right, there is indeed a point system. For example, I only need you to hunt down 2 beginner-level magical beasts and retrieve their magic cores for me. If you exceed your quota during the process of the mission, your points will naturally increase. Hunting an extra magical beast will add 1 point, and so on. The maximum bonus points for each task will not exceed 3 points. After 3 points, no matter how high your completion rate is, your score will not change. However, after you complete the task, I will give you a score based on your completion rate. The score is divided into 6 grades, A, B, C, D, E, F. A is the best, B is second, and F is the lowest. You can also understand that F is a failure, and E is only a little better than passing. All the students understood. In other words, only 3 points could be added at a time. If they wanted more points, they would have to wait until the next task. The teacher would give a corresponding score for each task. It was just that they didn't know what standard was used to evaluate this, and they didn't know how many points they would get after killing 2 magical beasts. The students were still a little confused about this scoring system, but James didn't give them too much time to understand it. Special dungeons were divided into many scenes, and the map in each scene was different. Some were on the sea, some were in the desert, and some were in the forest. In short, each door was actually like a dungeon. However, in this dungeon, you could choose to form a team or choose to complete it alone. Fengwu was currently doing it alone. This time, the scores were recorded individually, and the teacher didn't allow them to do the task together. Everyone could only rely on their own strength to complete the task assigned by the teacher. Roar, huff a huff huff, moo moo moo. Siss. Behind the door was a dense forest, and from the forest came waves of roaring magical beasts. Chapter 237. More than 20 people didn't even have a chance to speak before they were thrown in by James. The magical beasts in this world were only at the beginner level. Although beginner magical beasts weren't considered strong, they were already considered very strong for a bunch of newbies who had just entered the academy not long ago. At the very least, with their current strength, it would be difficult for them to defeat one alone, let alone kill two. Some of the 20 or so people were frowning, while others were full of confidence. Everyone, work hard. I'll go in first. A muscular male swordsman with a long sword in his hand was the first to enter the forest. I'll go first. A female swordsman followed. The two of them walked in without a change in expression, and the others also went into action. Xiao Wu, be careful. Good luck. Mo Gue moved closer to Fengwu and cheered her on. You too. Fengwu nodded. After the two of them said their goodbyes, they walked in different directions into the examination area. The forest was huge, and the shadows of the trees were thick. The lush trees blocked out the dazzling sunlight. Fengwu walked alone on this quiet path with a short sword in her hand. Somewhere in the special dungeon, James stood on a high ground and observed the reactions of the students below. Some people had already started fighting with a magic beast, while others were being chased by a powerful magic beast. Even more people were looking for their targets. Some of them were very cautious, while others didn't care. James could clearly see the expressions of these people. At his level, as a swordmaster, as long as he wanted to, he could clearly know what was going on within a radius of a few hundred meters. In the forest, there was a male student who had unceremoniously harvested a magic core after a fierce battle. He was currently sitting in a secluded area to rest. This male student was very cautious. His name was Meng, and he was only a bastard son of a small family. Because he was bullied by his official mother and the young masters of the family, his monthly allowance was deducted by the servants. This allowed him to learn how to earn money to support himself at a young age, so the money-making mission given by the school wasn't that difficult for him. He obtained a good result in the top 10. Because he had achieved a good result, he received some attention in the family. His mother, who had been forgotten by his father, was finally remembered by his father. In order to let the mother and son have a better life in the family, he had to work hard. He couldn't fail. This time, and every mission in the future, he had to succeed. He couldn't fail. He wouldn't give his official mother any chance to hurt his mother and himself. Phew. He carefully tore a piece of cloth from his clothes and used it to bandage his wound. The ethereal plane was very realistic, so he would still bleed and feel pain when he was injured. He had to find a doctor or find some medicine to completely heal his wound. In his current situation, it was impossible for him to find a doctor to treat him. He also did not know which medicine could treat the injury. In desperation, he could only do some simple bandaging to prevent his wound from bleeding too much. He still had to kill a magical beast to complete the mission. Before the mission was completed, he couldn't fall down because of his injuries. Meng carefully hid himself in a tree hole. At this time, footsteps sounded. Meng didn't go out. He didn't know if the person coming was malicious or not, so he didn't want to take any risks. The footsteps were getting closer and closer, and from the sound, he could tell that someone was running crazily. Sure enough, when the owner of the footsteps entered Meng's line of sight, Meng saw a beautiful girl. The girl held a sword in her hand and looked back from time to time. Her eyes were full of panic. The girl's body was covered in wounds, and the magical beast that was chasing her also suffered some injuries. It seemed that the two of them went through a fierce battle, but the girl lost in the end and had no choice but to escape. However, the magical beast that was angered by her didn't intend to let her go. Meng didn't go out. His teacher had already said that this was a personal battle, not a group battle. He didn't need to go out to save the girl. He chose to watch coldly. If nothing unexpected happened, the girl was likely to die under the claws of the magical beast and be teleported out. Dying in a special instance wouldn't force you to leave the virtual world. You would only be teleported out of the special instance. The girl ran crazily forward. Fortunately, when she thought she was going to die, a figure appeared in front of her. It was a black-haired girl, and among the students of the Swordmaster department, she was also a famous person. She was the only girl who had become a demigod's disciple. She was the object of envy of all the students of the Swordmaster department. "Feng Wu, save me!" The girl seemed to have seen hope and crazily rushed towards Feng Wu. In this short period of time, Feng Wu had successfully hunted down a magical beast and was now looking for the second one. Feng Wu didn't think that the second one would appear so soon. As for the girl who had asked her for help, Feng Wu didn't have time to look at her now. The girl rushed towards Feng Wu, and Feng Wu also raised her sword to meet her. Under the girl's astonished gaze, the magical beast that had been chasing her was easily killed by Feng Wu in 2 moves. Not only the girl, but even Meng, who was hiding in the tree hole, was shocked. He sighed in his heart. No wonder she could become a demigod's disciple. She was indeed strong. After killing the magical beast, Feng Wu directly took the magical beast's magic core. The girl who had asked Feng Wu for help panted and walked in front of Feng Wu. Her eyes were fixed on the magic core in Feng Wu's hand. "Feng Wu, thank you for helping me take out the magic core." The girl raised a friendly smile and stretched out her hand, wanting to take the magic core for herself. In her mind, she was the one who had encountered the magical beast first, and Feng Wu had been able to kill it so easily because she had beaten it half to death. Therefore, the magic core should belong to her. When she thought of this, she didn't think that if Feng Wu hadn't appeared to save her, she wouldn't even be in the dungeon now, let alone the magic core. The girl was full of confidence that Feng Wu would be too embarrassed to refuse to give it to her. Unfortunately, Feng Wu didn't do as she thought. Feng Wu kept the magic core in her space ring and didn't respond to the girl's words. "Feng Wu, what do you mean? Don't think that you can look down on ordinary students like us just because you are a demigod's disciple. That's the magic core I fought so hard for. You have to return it to me." The girl didn't care about her injuries and shouted at Feng Wu. Meng, who had been hiding and watching the whole process, only had one thought. It was really hard to be a good person. It was very likely that kindness would be repaid with enmity. Fortunately, he didn't act like a hero to save the damsel in distress. Chapter 238. Feng Wu girl blinked her eyes and looked at the girl who was glaring at her with a face full of hatred. Who was this person? Feng Wu girl tilted her head in confusion. Master said that there was no need to pay attention to this kind of strange person. It was better for her to just ignore her. Thus, after the Feng Wu girl glanced at the girl who was baring her fangs and brandishing her claws, she turned around and left without saying a word. "Stop right there. Give me back the magic core." The girl angrily chased after her. The two of them left one after the other and soon disappeared. Meng, who had watched the drama, sighed silently. If it was him, he would definitely slap that girl twice. This kind of person needed to be beaten up to vent his anger. After resting for a while and adjusting his state, Meng quietly left along another path. Yilin quietly hid from the servants and secretly returned to her room. Just as she let out a sigh of relief, she saw her mother, Feng Tianjiao, suddenly push the door open and enter, giving Yilin a fright. "Mother, what are you doing? You didn't even let the servants report when you came in. You scared me," Yilin complained with dissatisfaction. Feng Tianjiao let her personal maid lead the others out. The maid who left helped the two close the door. In an instant, only Feng Tianjiao and Yilin were left in the large room. "Speak, where did you go?" Feng Tianjiao's gaze swept over. That gaze seemed to be able to see through people, making Yi Lin uncomfortable. Where could I have gone? Didn't I just go out for a walk? Yi Lin's eyes drifted, not daring to look at Feng Tianjiao. Yi Lin had always had a temper that refused to admit defeat. Since she was young, besides being afraid of grandfather Feng and Feng Tianqing, she was most afraid of her mother, Feng Tianjiao. Others thought that her mother, Feng Tianjiao, was a willful and unruly woman with no brains. Only her children knew that her mother, Feng Tianjiao, wasn't a simple woman. The reason why her mother became like this in the eyes of others was because of her grandfather and uncle. Going out for a walk? When did you become so familiar with Qiu Ruoshui? Feng Tianjiao pretended to ask casually. What Qiu Ruoshui? Daughter doesn't know what mother is talking about. Yi Lin feigned ignorance. She couldn't admit that she had a relationship with Qiu Ruoshui. With her mother's temper, if she admitted it, she wouldn't be able to get anything good out of it. You don't know what I'm talking about? Haha, Lin, I gave birth to you. How could mother not know your personality? Mother knows that you've always been secretly interested in Qiu Ruobai, which is why you approached Qiu Ruoshui. You want to become the mistress of the Qiu family one day. Mother is right. Originally, there were some things that Feng Tianyao did not intend to get involved in. However, Yi Lin had clearly crossed the line. If she, as her mother, did not stop her, she was afraid that Yi Lin's future would be ruined by Qiu Ruoshui. Suddenly hearing Feng Tianjiao speak out her plans so straightforwardly, Yi Lin felt embarrassed and immediately denied. No, mother, don't listen to other people's nonsense. I don't think so. Bang. Feng Tianjiao slammed the table and stood up. Do you really think that I don't know what you've done? In order to get close to Qiu Ruobai, you've really put in a lot of effort. You can even plot against your own cousin. Yi Lin's little face turned pale with fright. She didn't expect that her mother would know what she had done. Mother. How do you know this? Girl, ever since Fengwu came back, you've been restless. After a few days, you mysteriously went to meet someone. Mother was afraid that you'd do something stupid, so I sent someone to investigate your recent whereabouts. Who knew that if I didn't investigate, I wouldn't have known. After investigating, I really found something incredible. Girl, you're really bold. You actually dared to work with Qiu Ruoshui to plot against your own cousin. Feng Tianjiao was so angry that she slammed the table again. Her whole body was so angry that her chest kept heaving up and down. Seeing that she couldn't hide it any longer, Yi Lin couldn't be bothered to keep up the pretense. She went straight to the point. Fine. I'll admit it. Together with Feng Tianqing, I tricked Feng Wu into eating a cake with pearl powder and gave her some dragon tea on Daughter's Day. But she's fine, isn't she? I really don't understand why she's fine. Clearly, dragon flower tea and pearl powder will cause people to have strong hallucinations when eaten together, but she's fine. Ruo Shui and I've wasted our efforts. That day, she invited Feng Wu to celebrate Daughter's Day with her. In fact, she wanted to plot against her. Even the desserts on the table that day were arranged by Qiu Ruobing. Her task was to bring Feng Wu to that table. Everything went smoothly. Feng Wu also ate their desserts with added ingredients, and she ate a lot. Unfortunately, she ate so much, but it didn't work at all. They originally planned to make Feng Wu have strong hallucinations and finally lose face in front of the Empress and all the noble children. Especially on that day, the distinguished guests of the Silver Moon Ancient Kingdom would come. That was the best opportunity to deal with Feng Wu. Although Yi Lin didn't like Feng Wu, she didn't want to kill her. If Qiu Ruoshui hadn't promised that if she succeeded, she would often take her to the Qiu family to play and let her have a chance to get along with Qiu Ruobai. Who knew that things went so smoothly, but in the end, it didn't develop as she expected. Qiu Ruoshui and Yi Lin didn't know that Feng Wu was the owner of the pure sword. The pure sword was the purest weapon in the world. Once the filthy and sinister things approached Feng Wu, they would be purified by the pure sword. Although those desserts and tea were eaten by Feng Wu, the pure sword would purify them immediately. In this way, It was impossible to hurt Feng Wu. Unfortunately, Yi Lin and Qiu Ruoshui, who wanted to make Feng Wu lose face, didn't know the truth. Is there something wrong with your head? How can you believe what Qiu Ruoshui said? She just wants to use you to deal with Feng Wu. I swear, if Feng Wu is really plotted against, the king and the empress will only find you. In the end, the unlucky one won't be the daughter of the Qiu family. Feng Tianjiao poked her forehead with her finger. She really didn't understand how she, Feng Tianjiao, could give birth to such a heartless child. She didn't have any plans at all. She was used by others but still helped them count money. No way, Ruoshui said that she would only clean up the mess. She would never let anyone find out that it was us who did it. Yi Lin said with some disbelief. She didn't want to believe it and didn't dare to believe it. If she believed it, wouldn't it prove that she had been fooled like a fool? People were like this. They would only believe what they wanted to believe. Chapter 239. Feng Tianjiao coldly snorted, I think they really did clean up their tail and swept it to your side. When someone investigates, you'll be a ready-made scapegoat. At that time, your reputation will be ruined and our Feng family and Yi family's reputations will be ruined. As the older cousin, you poisoned your own younger cousin. Once this matter comes out, the unlucky ones will be our two families while nothing will happen to the Qiu family. They really have a good plan. Hearing Feng Tianjiao's analysis, Yi Lin felt unwell. She didn't want to admit that she was being used. No, that won't happen. Ruoshui and I agreed that as long as I help her this time, she will help me pursue brother Ruobai. Yi Lin said excitedly. Help you pursue Qiu Ruobai? Do you think that's possible? Think about how the Qiu family's two sisters looked at you before. With their arrogant temperament, how could they take a fancy to you? Dream on. The angrier she got, the more her finger poked Yi Lin's forehead a few more times. Yi Lin took a step back in pain and covered her forehead with red eyes. But they clearly promised me. The Qiu family is a large aristocratic family and Qiu Ruoshui is the daughter of the first wife. She can't be lying to me. She whispered. What, you still don't believe me? Let me ask you, when you went out to see Qiu Ruoshui, did she say when she would take you to her house to see her brother? She didn't, right? She didn't even mention this matter. Feng Tianjiao said with certainty. Yi Lin nodded weakly. She asked me out and asked me why Feng Wu wasn't drugged. She asked me if I had done something. She threw a tantrum at me and left. I saw that she was so angry at this time, so I didn't dare to mention brother Ruobai. Humph, now you understand. From the beginning to the end, she used a promise she didn't want to fulfill to bait a fool like you into doing things for her. Then what do we do? Qiu Ruoshui is too hateful. Mom, we can't just let it go. We have to make her give me an explanation. Yi Lin was so angry that she cried. She only wanted to marry a good man and live a good life. Why did she give her hope only to discover that it was all a lie? The more Yi Lin thought about it, the sadder she became. She threw herself onto the table and sobbed. Don't cry. Qiu Ruoshui dared to treat my daughter like this. I, Feng Tianjiao, am not someone to be trifled with. I will definitely make her pay the price. A sharp light flashed in Feng Tianjiao's eyes. Qiu Ruobai, don't think about it anymore. With their family's background, it's impossible for them to marry you. Even if your uncle is the head of the Feng family, it's useless. Moreover, Madame Qiu has always harbored resentment towards our Feng family. As long as they are related to the Feng family, she will not let Qiu Ruobai marry them. That concubine's daughter, Feng Ting, wholeheartedly wants to get into the Qiu family through Qiu Ruoshui. She wants to marry Qiu Ruobai so much that she's going crazy. Little does she know that Madame Qiu will not allow any of the Feng family's daughters to become her daughter-in-law. Others might not know about the knot in Madame Qiu's heart, but Feng Tianjiao was very clear about it. This was the first time Yi Lin had heard that Lady Qiu actually had a grudge against the Feng family. This shocked her because she had never heard anyone mention this before. What's going on? Why would Madame Chiu have a grudge against the Feng family? This matter, I'll have to start from your uncle's marriage. Feng Tianjiao told Yi Lin about how the Feng family had initially wanted Madame Chiu to be their daughter-in-law. Later, the current Madame Lan beat her to it and became engaged with Feng Tianqing. Then, Madame Chiu married into the Chiu family. So Madame Chiu and the Feng family have such a grudge. This was the first time Yi Lin had heard about this matter. If she had known about this earlier, she would not have cooperated with Chiu Ruoxue. Mom, why didn't you tell me earlier? If you had told me earlier, I would not have agreed to help Chiu Ruoxue no matter what, Yi Lin complained. You still dare to complain to me? How would I know that you didn't like any other boy and instead took a fancy to Chiu Ruobai? If she had known, she would have told her daughter first. Since you already know about this matter, stay away from the Chiu family in the future. Don't be so stupid and let others use you. Fortunately, nothing happened to Feng Wu that day. If something really happened, your grandfather might have killed you. Feng Wuliu had always been a person who clearly distinguished kindness and grudges. Moreover, he was very stubborn. If the matter of Yi Lin poisoning Feng Wu really happened, it would be natural for Feng Wuliu to clean up the family. Hearing Feng Tianjiao's words, Yi Lin was really scared. Her stern grandfather had always been the person she was most afraid of. She did not doubt that if this matter was exposed, there was more than a 50% chance that her grandfather would directly kill her. The more she thought about it, the more scared she became. The more she resented Chiu Ruoxue and her sister. Chiu Ruoxue, you have always treated me, Yi Lin, as a fool. Don't think that I will just let it go. This matter is not over yet. Just wait and see. At this time, the Feng family was also very lively. Today, Master Feng announced a big matter. Feng Tianqing was hired by the Notre Dame du Starlight to be a teacher, and Feng Yanran would also go with him. Because Feng Tianqing sacrificed 20 years of his youth to protect the peace of the human world, Feng Yanran received the opportunity to enter the school without taking the exam. 2 days later, Feng Tianqing and Feng Yanran, this pair of mother and daughter, would leave the Feng family. Everyone in the Feng family congratulated Feng Tianqing and Feng Yanran, but Feng Ting was very uncomfortable in her heart. She was a young miss of an aristocratic family and did not need to study at the Notre Dame du Starlight like other people. In her family, there were many opportunities to learn those profound sword skills. If it was just studying at the Notre Dame du Starlight, it would not be a big deal. However, Feng Yanran was exempted from the exam. This quota could only be obtained by a family that had made outstanding contributions to the human world. It represented a kind of honor. And those who had this quota would specially send an instructor to guide them as soon as they arrived at the school. They would also have priority to choose the inheritance in the Mirage. It could be said that Feng Yanran would definitely become very famous. In the past, those who had obtained this exemption would at least be a demon swordsman or an epic archmage no matter how bad they were. This quota represented future achievements. How could Feng Ting not be jealous? She had to work harder. It seemed that she had to go to the Mirage more often. She had to find a good inheritance. The important inheritance of the Feng family would not be passed down to the daughter. Only Feng Juntian, the future head of the family, could inherit it. If she wanted to obtain great strength, she had to think of a way. Ting Ting, what's wrong? Are you in a bad mood? Yi Tian poured a cup of tea for Feng Ting. Today, the two of them had agreed to watch a musical, but sitting in the private room, Feng Ting was clearly a little absent-minded. Therefore, Yi Tian asked her worriedly if she was in a bad mood. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.